Part 186. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1854. And when those subspaces are attacked, there will be no shortage of matter inside, so it is possible to cause terrifying sound waves and light and shadow effects. In short, the two super terrifying powerhouses fought against each other. In an instant, the shocking explosive power of the middle level and primary level beings of the galaxy made the entire starry sky seem to be completely boiling. Endless light exploded into the surroundings, causing several of the approaching primary creatures in the galaxy to pause slightly. The battleships farther away were even more unbearable. Some of these battleships were even pushed by these forces. It crashed out, hit other battleships, or simply exploded in an instant without thinking. There was no way. The battle between the two galaxies was simply terrifying to an astonishing degree. But the difference in strength is obvious. Even though Jia Yan blocked the opponent's first and second blows, there was not much he could do to block the third blow. With the first blow, Jia Yan jumped back, his whole body trembling a lot. With the second blow, his brainwave power showed signs of collapse. For the third blow, he had no choice but to avoid it. It's amazing. It's really amazing. The middle level of galaxy is so strong. I can also see that the opponent didn't use all his strength at all. Of course, even if I use all my strength, I will choose to hide directly inside the subspace, and not fighting him. Jia Yan has used every fighting method of Yin and Yang Dao, even the explosive power, but it's useless. Against a galaxy intermediate, even if Jia Yan used any of his fighting methods, at least in a head-on confrontation, he had absolutely no chance of winning. Oh! Jia Yan was surprised, and the other party was also surprised. Jia Yan's strength is indeed more terrifying than he imagined. You need to know that ordinary galaxy beginners, against intermediate galaxy creatures like him, no one will be seriously injured in one blow, and no one can block the second blow. He was relatively good, but Jia Yan was better, blocking him twice, and only sought to avoid the third time. This is already a level that many beginners of galaxies cannot achieve at all. And he also understood that one of the reasons for this was because Jia Yan had never thought about using his subspace talent and wanted to fight him head-on. If Jia Yan used his subspace talent, or something else, no matter what cumbersome fighting method, it was not that easy for him to start a head-on battle with Jia Yan all at once. It's a pity that such a terrifying primary level of galaxy. But he is still not his opponent. In a split second of fighting, both sides roughly identified each other's strength level. Jia Yan is strong, so strong that even he feels the possibility of capsizing. But now that he had fought, he found that the primary level of the galaxy was still the primary level of the galaxy. Even if Jia Yan had a certain chance to cause serious injury or even death to the weaker mid-level galaxy creatures, he could not deal with a normal mid-level galaxy creature like him. There is absolutely no threat at all. At least in a normal frontal battle, Jia Yan had no chance of defeating him. Haha, Jia Yan, what are you hiding from? Didn't you just say you wanted to fight me? After the blow, Jia Yan stepped back slightly, his whole body looming, almost falling into the subspace. This is the strongest move he can use to dodge the opponent, and it is also the strongest dodge method that Jia Yan has mastered during the previous battle. Slightly combining himself with the subspace can be regarded as entering the subspace, or it can be said that in a normal space, the transition between offense and defense is absolutely extremely fast. Not being able to hit Jia Yan, the other party was a little shocked, but after the shock, he sneered. For a galaxy level, these things are all empty. If the fighting ability is not good, it is just not good. If Jia Yan cannot defeat him after these few attacks, it means that Jia Yan does not have the strength to defeat him at all. Galaxy Intermediate, what kind of opponent have you not encountered? Not to mention the subspace, even the enemy that combines the subspace with the gravitational wave space, he has encountered once. The enemy hid well that time, but in the end he still found the opportunity and hit him to death with a single blow. Of course, in addition to Jia Yan's subdimensional talent, he also felt just now that Jia Yan's attack power and defense power were also extremely terrifying. Even he felt a little surprised by the azure blue that appeared on his body when he was fighting with himself. This kind of defensive power substance seemed to be terrifying beyond a level. At least this kind of thing could not be seen on the average galaxy beginners. For level defense, only a middle-level person in the galaxy would have such a terrifying defensive material. Surrender. Your Excellency, you really want to surrender? I don't mind. But if you don't surrender now, it will be too late to surrender later. When Jia Yan heard that the other party wanted to surrender to him, he immediately felt embarrassed and said in turn that the other party wanted to surrender. It's useless to keep talking. Look, even if you can fight me a few times, but now they are surrounding me, don't you think you are still alive? This mid-level galaxy creature was very dissatisfied with Jia Yan's attitude of refusing to surrender and even daring to talk nonsense. He immediately looked at Jia Yan and sneered. At his signal, Jia Yan also felt that many powerful and terrifying entities were approaching from all directions. As expected, these first-level powerhouses from the galaxy were surrounded from all sides. The position they surrounded was very cunning, and each one had terrifying energy blocking the space. This was the rhythm of wanting to kill Jia Yan in this twisted subspace with one blow. It's a pity that even if Jia Yan is blocked by the distorted subspace, he still won't be hindered at all when he enters the ordinary subspace in one breath, because the distortion only occurs in the 8-dimensional subspace. Haha, Your Excellencies, are you actually so anxious? The battle has just begun, we still have more to fight. But since you want to kill me in one go, I can't stand and fight you. Sorry, just don't say I'm playing tricks. Jia Yan smiled silently, then stepped back with one foot. At the moment when a Zinged novice was so happy that he thought he was about to attack Jia Yan from behind, he stepped into the void. Subspace talent, fully activated. The primary creature from the galaxy missed the target with one blow, as if it hit the air. Jia Yan's body seemed to have entered another world suddenly, which made people extremely depressed. It's obviously just a little bit different. He hasn't penetrated deep into the subspace yet. Now that we join forces to attack, we can definitely seriously injure him. That mid-level galaxy creature didn't feel the slightest bit depressed or shocked because of Jia Yan's entry into the subspace. This was a normal thing. They had long thought that Jia Yan would use his subspace talent to fight. Buzz. Bang. Puff. Several consecutive terrifying attacks suddenly penetrated into the subspace from the area where Jia Yan had just entered the subspace. Each of the galaxy-level creatures can easily attack the interior of the subspace. Even if they do not have subspace talent, because they are strong enough, even if they are allowed to enter the first and second floors of the subspace, there will be no big problem. It's just going to be more uncomfortable. They didn't want to enter, they just wanted to attack Jia Yan inside the subspace. In an instant, attacks one after another poured into the subspace of the twisted land. Humph, you actually came in with an attack so quickly. Inside the subspace, Jia Yan had actually just entered the first level space not long ago, but he quickly felt that there were shocking attacks coming from behind. Boost. Jia Yan didn't panic, and instantly accelerated his speed in the subspace. Those first-level distortions were extremely dangerous to other creatures, but to him, they seemed to not exist at all. In an instant, he rushed over directly, walking on flat ground. Attacking from behind, he judged how far he would rush into at this moment, and in an instant, he attacked Jia Yan's back. It is a pity that there were 5 attacks, that is, half of the attacks, because Jia Yan was not expected to rush so fast, and fell into the void in an instant, and even tore a large amount of distortion, causing a large area in this subspace. Area of destruction. However, the other 5 attacks, including the attack from the mid-level galaxy creature, accurately judged Jia Yan's flying speed and direction, and suddenly attacked Jia Yan's back. Yes, you can actually judge my speed, but that's it? Do you think I will be attacked by you? Jia Yan will not let these 5 attacks completely destroy him. After all, this is an attack containing the attack energy of a mid-level galaxy creature. If he is hit from the front, Jia Yan may not be able to bear it. So as soon as his brainwave power moved, inside this subspace, when he came out of the subspace just now, a small meteorite explosive that he brought with him suddenly appeared behind him. Bang! In the twisted space, a sudden explosion unleashed a large amount of explosive power. In the entire first-level subspace, it was as if there was some extremely terrifying monster that exploded directly. Then the explosion spread to a large area, and even pushed the flying behemoth farther forward. Even the power of the explosion directly sprayed out of the subspace, directly bombing out the weak spot where he had just flown into the subspace. This is also the place where several galaxy-level people came to attack Jia Yan just now. They had just released their attack, but they never thought that such a terrifying attack would come. Therefore, when the terrifying explosive power exploded from the subspace, these creatures attacking the subspace had no defense at all. Puff. Ah. What? What power is this? Oh my god. Several galaxy-level beings were completely stunned by the explosion. Even one person was directly affected by the force and was blasted far behind him, suffering a slight injury. Although the injury was not serious, he was injured after all. You must know that this is just a certain amount of energy that affects the outside world after Jia Yan detonates the explosive. If it hits this elementary creature of the galaxy head-on, he may not be as simple as a minor injury. No, this is the kind of explosive his clone used. Be careful, he actually has such explosives here, let's pay attention. A group of galaxy-level creatures were all experiencing shock and danger. As for the mid-level galaxy creature, when Jia Yan's explosive exploded, his whole heart felt uncomfortable. Is this the thing that killed all our junior friends in the galaxy? It is indeed extremely terrifying, but even so, it can't hurt me. He was completely at the center of the explosion, but he didn't feel any retreat at all. He was just feeling the astonishing power of this wave of explosives. Yes, the power of this explosive is indeed great, and it may even affect the primary level creatures of galaxy, but for him, his defense is also at the level of mid-level galaxy, even compared to Jia Yan who uses Azure defense. Are all one level more terrifying. So he didn't even think that the explosives exploding now would be something that could hurt him. Haha, is this your last trump card? Jia Yan, don't think about it, this trump card is not enough. The middle level Xi creature smiled faintly and roared at Jia Yan, who was still sinking deeper into the subspace. Jia Yan's unique skills that he fears the most are subspace talents and explosive substances. But now he has seen both. Although it is indeed strong, is also very strange, but after experiencing it personally, he believes that these two things have no impact on him at all. With subspace talent, he can attack to the 8-dimensional subspace in one breath. Although the attacks in the 8-dimensional subspace do not have much power, the battlefield they chose now is a place where 8 degrees is completely distorted. So even if Jia Yan's subspace talent is used up half, even if Jia Yan can hide in the 7th dimension, he can still use the 7th dimensional subspace to fully reach 60% of his attack power. Against a galaxy prime for a creature of this level, this 60% power is already extremely dangerous and may even be life-threatening. The danger of explosives was what he was more afraid of than the subspace. This kind of fighting method is like that used by weak technological creatures, which makes him a little worried. Has Jia Yan found some way to quickly create explosives? Now it seems that Jia Yan has indeed found it, but it makes him a little worried. What made him a little happy was that after experiencing the explosive himself, it was not that scary at all. Even if it can have a certain impact on him, but with so many elementary creatures from the galaxy around him to deal with, he feels that even if Jia Yan uses such explosives, there is no threat at all. Oh! Your Excellency thinks that my explosives are no threat at all. Jia Yan is on the third floor of the subspace. While the sound of the explosion is still continuing, he is preparing to enter the subspace deeper. That's right, Jia Yan, just accept your fate and let us beat you to death. Ha ha ha, this explosive only has this kind of strength. It's really a pity for the friends who were killed by it before. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1855. I estimate that you can only make enough explosives to kill the primary level of the galaxy. With so many of us, the primary level of the galaxy, coming here together, even if you explode, we will work together to resist it, and there will be no impact at all. Several elementary creatures from the galaxy burst into laughter. Although one person was injured, they felt that they had finally seen the nature of Jia Yan's explosives. So of course they laughed. The biggest threat, the explosive that had killed several of their friends at the same level, was actually defeated by several of their galaxy-level friends. This had a great impact on their self-confidence. Influence. Simply bursting with confidence. Jia Yan was nothing, he was just an evolved beast, his strength was only at the elementary level of galaxy, there was no difference between him and them. There are 10 of them in total, and one of them even has a senior who has reached the middle level of the galaxy. With such a lineup, Jia Yan's strength has been seen through, so why are you afraid of him? Is it? Jia Yan, who was far away in the subspace, did not have much sadness or joy in his expression. But the group of galaxy-level enemies behind him will definitely not let him go. This is the area where several major galaxy-level players have just rushed to Jia Yan and entered the subspace. They waste their power to open the subspace. It is not as convenient as Jia Yan, and they will waste a certain amount of power. However, it is much easier to pass through the place where Jia Yan just entered, and the power of such an attack will be greater than the power of tearing the subspace by themselves. A little, although this is only a trivial little bit, it is enough to make up for the loss of their large impact on the creatures in the subspace. I'll go first. A primary creature at the galaxy level, his talent is in the gravitational wave system. He thinks he knows more about subspace, so he instantly created a huge attack energy, and through his own brainwave power, he rushed to the inside subspace. Jia Yan is still flying ahead and has entered the 4th level of subspace. But the attack from behind still pursued him here, and what surprised him even more was that this attack was actually very stable and was not affected much by the distorted power in the subspace. The fluctuations in space this time are simpler than the tides in the gravitational wave system. My attack will not be exhausted much. Jia Yan, you should have a good taste of my attack. The galaxy level being sneered, and then silently increased the power of the attack. So that's it? What he uses is to keep his attack power in contact with his own energy, so that the energy can act according to his will as much as possible, avoid distortion, and can also explode in an instant. However, this convenient power, it's much slower. Jia Yan silently observed behind him, and soon understood the source of this power, and also knew his biggest disadvantage. The speed is too slow. If you want to control, but you are not a subspace creature, you can use energy to connect the distortions in the subspace, and then slowly avoid all the distortions along the way. Although this method is not impossible, it consumes too much power. And the speed is too slow. To impress people, this kind of attack can hit me, so it's too underestimated for subspace gifted creatures. Jia Yan smiled silently, and then he suddenly changed the direction of his action and instantly moved to the space on the other side. Countless twisted forces moved with him. In the 4th-dimensional subspace, the distortions here are almost integrated into one. Although it seems slightly more monotonous than the one- or two-dimensional subspace, this does not mean that such distortions will be stronger than the one-dimensional subspace. How different is the space? It should even be said that per unit square, such distortion is more terrifying than those twisted subspace groups in the one- and two-dimensional subspaces. As soon as Jia Yan moved, he moved with a large amount of distortion. This is because he used his talent to move the distortion in the subspace together. No, he can actually do such a thing. The expression of the creature with the gravitational wave system changed slightly, and then he quickly activated his own power to quickly transfer the attack energy. It is a pity that he is not a subspace creature after all. He does not have such an intuitive feeling for the distortion and movement in the subspace. What he sees through his eyes is definitely much slower than Jia Yan. So this distortion was directly touched by that force. Puff. There weren't too many unnecessary sounds at all. The distortion swallowed up the energy completely, just like swallowing an insignificant little thing. Then there was a thin sound, and it instantly returned to calm. What? The fourth dimension of subspace actually has such power. This is only the fourth dimension. No, there is something wrong with the subspace distortion caused by Jia Yan just now. He must have invoked the changes in the subspace, otherwise the four-dimensional subspace would not have such power. This, and even the fourth degree of distortion in the subspace have been used to this extent by him. We also said that we wanted to attack him. How is it possible now? Don't worry, didn't you see? It's a bit difficult for him to use, and this is just an attack by one person. If we attack together with several galaxy levels, we can definitely kill him. Several galaxy-level creatures silently analyzed Jia Yan's behavior. Of course, some of them were shocked. For example, the strong man of the gravitational wave system himself was shocked. But most of the other galaxy-level powerhouses are relatively rational. They understood instantly. Jia Yan was not really able to deal with the galaxy-level power behind him, but because he used a lot of strength to instantly transport the distortion in the four-dimensional space, and even strengthen the distortion, otherwise a galaxy-level attack would not be possible. Although it is an extremely slow attack and the attack power is not very high, it will never be swallowed up by a mere distortion so easily. Haha, these galaxy-level people really think that my talent in subspace is so easy to deal with. Jia Yan is in the fourth dimension, preparing to fly into the fifth dimension. The group of galaxy-level powerhouses behind him looked confused outside the subspace, and he instantly felt slightly amused. It is true that if a galaxy-level powerhouse outside the subspace attacks with all his strength, his attack power can affect the eight-dimensional subspace. But this does not mean that a creature with subspace talent will become a target that is completely unable to resist if it is less than 8 degrees in subspace. Just like Jia Yan now, he is a gifted creature in the subspace. This talent does not mean that he can only come and go freely in the subspace, but that he can also have a strong connection with the subspace in the subspace, thereby causing a powerful energy impact, and then being able to create the changes you want in the subspace. Previously, he had indeed not developed his subspace talent to its limit. But he can still do this ordinary subspace distortion. Therefore, even if the group of strong men behind him can attack the eighth dimension of the subspace, it does not mean that they can easily hit Jia Yan unable to evade in the fourth dimension. Attack him together. When Jia Yan silently flew deeper into the subspace, the mid-level galaxy creature who thought there was not much chance suddenly shouted. A group of galaxies from the outside, reaching 10 in total, burst out their energy in one breath, and instantly there were 10 attacks, rushing from the outside of the subspace into the interior of the subspace. Huh? This is a good choice. Attack together. Even if I can induce distortion, it should be difficult to distort with so much power. This is the mid-level creature of the galaxy under this command. I can see it more accurately. It is indeed he is a mid-level star, and he definitely has a lot of experience. Jia Yan believed that this mid-level galaxy creature might have fought against a creature with a subspace talent in his life, so he knew how to deal with a subspace talent. Unfortunately, Jia Yan believes that they are fundamentally different from ordinary subspace heavenly creatures. His biggest essential difference is that he doesn't just have subspace talent. He also has another biggest advantage, that is, he is also the founder of the Yin-Yang Tao that he developed his own way. The path created is definitely not a simple thing. It is a new way that can impact the systems of countless powerful people in the universe. If we change to the future, there may be countless practitioners of Yin and Yang Dao who will question and fight against the system of powerful people in the universe. Even war. So as the founder of such a mature system, how could he be caught or even killed by the enemy so easily? The Yin and Yang Dao also works within the subspace. Blow it up. While Jia Yan was walking, he suddenly exploded the positive and negative attributes of his brainwave power. Bang! Large areas of subspace were distorted and exploded in an instant. The strength of the galaxy-level strongman who rushed into Jia Yan from behind was suddenly shaken aside by countless fragments of twisted power due to these twisting explosions, or was directly swallowed. When the power exploded piece by piece, the countless forces that were bombarded actually dissipated piece by piece. However, because the power of the mid-level galaxy creature was too terrifying and he didn't seem to understand the subspace at all, he still broke through the twisted explosion and reached behind Jia Yan. Jia Yan looked shocked. This attack, still in Jia Yan's shock, suddenly hit behind him. Puff. Jia Yan's whole body trembled slightly, and the body part behind him turned azure in an instant. The sudden turn greatly improved his defense, and the sudden attack was like a small wave hitting the rocks, and dispersed in an instant. However, Jia Yan still suffered some injuries. After all, this was the strength of a mid-level galaxy creature. It's really powerful. A mid-level creature from the galaxy can even break through this kind of defense. Jia Yan plunged into the fifth-dimensional subspace. Then he moved on. Haha, this Jia Yan is injured. He was so brazen just now, but he is still injured. You must have blown your bragging. Be careful. Jia Yan's injuries are not serious. I even feel that he is just a little angry. Yes, the subspace talent is indeed well deserved. Such a galaxy-level subspace powerhouse is really a bit tricky for us. Several elementary creatures in the galaxy are really a little uncomfortable with Jia Yan's subspace talent, and this guy is still escaping deeper into the subspace. They were all wondering if this Jia Yan had abandoned the fleet in the war and was preparing to escape alone. Of course, even if he escaped alone, it would not be a surprise. After all, for a strong man, the life of a fleet is definitely not worth his own life. But they didn't think that Jia Yan would escape, because he still valued his son's life. Jia Yan was still far away, fighting with the fleet here, so they didn't think that Jia Yan would let these things go. The Galaxy-class existence turned back to help its own fleet and encircled and killed the Orion Arm fleet. Therefore, he will definitely find a way to come out from the depths of space again to delay their footsteps, or find a way to kill a few Galaxy-class ships to ease the pressure on the fleet. Be careful, this Jia Yan definitely has something on his mind, otherwise he would never dare to appear in front of us easily. Don't worry, keep attacking. He can only sneak into the 7th degree at most. If we keep working together like this, he will definitely be attacked by us. He can't get into the 8th degree. Yes, let's not forget that what we are most afraid of is that he enters the 8th-dimensional subspace. Now this 8th-dimensional subspace of the starry sky is completely inaccessible. Attacking it now will definitely have a big impact on him. Each of several galaxy-level creatures came up with suggestions. The creature that had reached the middle level of galaxy did not say that he would not accept everyone's opinions at this time. In particular, some strong men of the first level of galaxy said that they must continue to attack now, which is the most agreeable thing for him. If his attack just now caused Jia Yan to be slightly injured. Although he blocked most of it this time, as long as he continues to launch such attacks, there will always be Jia Yan who is when the rock can't stop it. After all, Jia Yan can't breathe and has been unable to enter the 8th dimension to rest, so he will become their target. Even if he has defensive means now, what's next? Attack, everyone, our chance of victory is right in front of us. This mid-level galaxy creature suddenly roared, then took the lead and blasted a large amount of energy into the crack in the subspace. And this energy is aimed at Jia Yan, who has entered the 6th dimension. Yes, attack, this Jia Yan is already at the end of his strength, we can definitely kill him quickly. The 6th degree is nothing. If you have the ability, you can enter the 8th degree. If you can't enter, you will be attacked by us. This group of galaxies were observing the looming shadow deep in the subspace from a distance. Seeing that the 8-dimensional subspace further ahead of the shadow was already so distorted that it was impossible for him to enter, they all suddenly laughed. Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1856. This Jia Yan definitely can't escape. The galaxy-level experts did not believe that Jia Yan could escape in their hands like this. As long as he did not enter the 8th degree, he would have nothing to hide. Even if the attack of the mid-level galaxy is blasted into the subspace, it will be greatly weakened, but after all, it is the galaxy level. Even if his strength is weakened, it still has a very terrifying power. Even if you are not seriously injured, you must have a limit to withstand our continuous attacks. The middle level being in the galaxy had a bright light in his eyes at this time. The exchange of blows just now made him understand that Jia Yan's strength is not a creature that can be killed in one blow. Now that he struck out with one blow, he did not think about completing his victory in one battle. He only thought about the continuous attacks of the 10 galactic levels. Then Jia Yan will always be slowly consumed by them, and then die in the subspace. And he has also measured his own strength. Even if Jia Yan dies in the 7th dimension, as long as he cooperates with some of the equipment they purchased from the alien planet and adds his own strength, he can rush into the 7th dimension for a few seconds. It is still possible for Zhong to drag out Jia Yan's body when the time comes, and they will have accomplished their biggest purpose of coming to Orion Arm. Such a great idea requires them to defeat and kill Jia Yan. The surrounding 9 primary level strongmen of the galaxy did not watch, because they also knew that this battle was not something that a mid-level creature from the galaxy could easily kill Jia Yan, so at this moment, in the galaxy, after the senior classmate made an attack, they also made their own attack. In an instant, the 9 major attacks went back and forth, one by one, to the depths of the subspace where Jia Yan was. Each galaxy-level powerhouse has different attack power. After all, their strength and training direction are not very similar, so it is impossible for their attack power to be fused. Therefore, their attacks not only have front and back, but also because they have to taking into account other galaxy-level attacks, there was a difference in accuracy that did not match their strength. The coverage is not small. But it is precisely because of this difference in accuracy that it is difficult for Jia Yan to hide. His body is 30 kilometers long, so he cannot move to other places quickly. Oh, you gentlemen, how can you see me, Jia Yan, so clearly? Jia Yan was in the subspace. Even if he couldn't hear clearly what was said outside, he could still understand the subspace energy of these galaxy-level attacks. These galaxy-level people actually felt that Jia Yan would definitely die in their hands. Of course, looking at it from the perspective of an ordinary strong person, the situation at this time is also a situation where Jia Yan is about to die. After all, a primary level galaxy being, let alone one of the top 10 galaxy-level beings. Even if he faces a galaxy-level being, the middle-level experts are absolutely invincible. Even though Jia Yan had a very exciting battle with that mid-level creature from the galaxy just now, those who know the actual gap between the two sides will understand that it is not just a little bit, but a lot. At least Jia Yan is not. There is no possibility of a comeback. This is also the reason why the middle-level warrior in the galaxy is full of confidence at this time. But Jia Yan faced the bombardment of so many strong men in the subspace, but he did not feel the slightest panic. After all, he has always been safe in his heart. Haha, then let everyone see what I have arranged here. Ha ha ha, you think you have plotted against me, why haven't I plotted against you? Jia Yan smiled slightly, and then, inside the subspace of 6 to 7 degrees that he had reached deeply, a huge shadow that was not much smaller than his own body suddenly appeared. You know, Jia Yan's body is 30 kilometers wide, so this shadow is actually 30 kilometers wide. And here is the 6-dimensional subspace. Any material, as long as there is no subspace talent, will definitely not have any good results in this place. But this shadow existed here, and in an instant, it ran behind Jia Yan. If you pay careful attention, someone will know that the huge shadow in front of Jia Yan's body actually has a not too big shadow at the bottom. This is a shadow of Jia Yan's clone. This clone has been silent all this time. This is to allow all other energy to be put into the real body as much as possible. But this shadow still maintains a certain amount of energy, because he has to maintain his body's constant release of power and master the huge shadow on his body. And if anyone can see this shadow in person, they will definitely understand that this shadow is actually an extremely huge meteorite. Moreover, this meteorite is actually 30 kilometers in size. Considering Jia Yan's previous process of making his explosives in subspace, it is probably an explosive made by Jia Yan. The manufacturing process of Yin-Yang Dao explosives is too difficult and requires Jia Yan to waste a lot of energy, and it doesn't even last long, so Jia Yan has never made meteorite explosives of the same size before. But it was different now. He knew that this war would happen soon, so he ignored the loss of the meteorite and wasted a lot of energy on creating this huge meteorite explosive. That's why there is such a terrifying 30-kilometer meteorite explosive that may not be produced in the future. Even in order to maintain the stability of this meteorite explosive in the deep space, Jia Yan has been using a clone to maintain the stability of this huge meteorite here. When he escaped into the subspace just now, he happened to be near this meteorite, so he controlled his clone and asked it to send the meteorite here. Of course, all this process may sound complicated, but it is actually a very quick and natural process. Jia Yan even knew that in this huge twisted land of subspace, there were actually dozens of similar clones. After all, he wanted to fight such a large-scale war, and he needed a huge amount of meteorite and explosive backup. If there are more, then a lot of control will be required. In other words, his clones will also need a lot. And this is also the reason why Jia Yan's clones have rarely appeared on the battlefield recently. But the enemy has always ignored this, which can be said to be the opponent's biggest mistake, or carelessness. But what happened at that time was the previous problem. The current problem is that the effect of the huge meteorite sacrificed by Jia Yan's clone depends on the way it is used, as well as the actual explosion power and later energy. Even Jia Yan is looking forward to it. None of the explosives I gave to my subordinates before were of such power, and none of them exploded in such a short time. In other words, this 30-kilometer large explosive will definitely explode. Horrifying, I have to control it well and never let myself fall into the scope of the explosion. Although I have come up with a control plan, there may still be a large amount of explosion aftermath this time, sweeping over myself. Be careful. This one. The terrifying exploding meteorite, to Jia Yan, is more than just a human being setting off fireworks. It is definitely Jia Yan's biggest trump card. If there were no such means and methods of attack, Jia Yan might not have so rashly started a war with a group of galaxy-class people. After all, for him, the gap between level and quantity is clear at a glance. He would be stupid to fight with such a group of galaxy-class people. Fight with creatures that are even higher than your own level. But it's different now, he has such an attack method. As for defense, I have never heard a saying, is the best defense to attack. This is what Jia Yan is doing. Faced with the attack of the 10 powerful men who were charging towards him, Jia Yan completed all this in just an instant. At this moment, in an instant, each of the strong men saw a shadowy thing in front of Jia Yan that they had not noticed before. What is this? It's so big. Is there something that exists in the subspace? What could it be? It's not torn apart. Damn it, this thing is blocking Jia Yan's front. Will it protect Jia Yan? This, Jia Yan is so lucky, there is a natural object protecting him. Wrong. As for the other galaxy-level people, they were not too worried, but thought that such a foreign object that suddenly appeared would definitely help Jia Yan block the attack. Later, when Jia Yan was still about to die, the galaxy-level the order existed, and his complexion changed drastically. This thing is definitely not natural. What thing can actually exist above the 6th dimension of subspace? I don't believe it. This is definitely Jia Yan's method. No, let's leave quickly. In the area where several zinc levels were located, due to their repeated attacks, there was already a huge hole leading to the interior of the subspace, and because of the attack on Jia Yan, the subspace passages from 1 degree to 6 degrees in front were all blocked. The tearing effect is extremely amazing, which means that they will have the most perfect barrel here. There was an explosion inside, like gunpowder in a gun, pushing the bullet towards the 10 galaxy-level beings here. This mid-level galaxy creature is already extremely cautious. Unfortunately, he called a little too late. Because Jia Yan, who was inside the subspace, had already ignited his bullet. Ha 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 ha, guys, give me, explosion. Boom. Boo. Inside the subspace, an earth-shattering sound of terror suddenly rang out. The clone deep in the subspace escaped from the bottom of the meteorite in an instant, and the yin and yang power inside the meteorite was ignited in an instant, and then surged to the outside world, causing a huge sound wave to appear throughout the subspace. The twisting and endless destruction, but because there is an undestruct twisted land behind it, this bullet-like meteorite instantly hits the passage ahead. Boom. In an instant, this terrifying bullet that reached a distance of 30 kilometers rushed out of 6 dimensions, then 5, 4, and 3 dimensions. Before several galaxy-class people could escape from the crack, this huge bullet rushed in front of them. This, defense. At this moment, other elementary beings in the galaxy don't even have time to emit their brainwave power, but the intermediate level creatures in the galaxy still have the energy and time to emit their own brainwave power. After hearing his command, all of a sudden, the primary creatures in the 9 galaxies involuntarily put up their maximum defense power. Next, an earth-shattering explosion of power covered them. Bang! When the 30-kilometer meteorite reached the entrance of the passage, its terrifying and astonishing momentum did not dissipate. Jia Yan, who was inside the passage, had already controlled the yin and yang dao inside to explode the seed power. In an instant, this unprecedented 30-kilometer-long meteorite exploded. Huge explosives exploded with a bang. Yes, this bullet is not just a bullet, it is a bullet that will explode when it reaches the enemy. This kind of lethality is even more amazing. Countless fragments scattered loudly around, and because of the previous momentum and the last explosion, the explosion power of this meteorite at this time was absolutely unparalleled. Puff. First, there was an elementary creature from the galaxy who was hit by a meteorite fragment. This speed is so fast that even a star-level creature may not be able to see it. For a galaxy-level creature, It is absolutely astonishing. So he couldn't avoid it at all. This elementary creature from the galaxy escaped a little slower because of his slow speed. At this moment, this shocking fragment hit the center of his body. His defensive power seemed to be completely ineffective, and a big hole was punched out in an instant. Then the fragments also had amazing penetrating power, penetrating his body in an instant, and then exploding from the chest in front. Ah, save me. At this moment, this elementary creature from the galaxy actually had a little more time, and his brainwave power seemed to suddenly become faster, and he expressed his desire for help. But everything happened too fast. Even if he had time to send out a cry for help, there was another fragment behind him, coming directly to his body. Puff! For this fragment, bombed his head with incomparable precision. As a result, the head of the terrifying monster, which was dozens of kilometers in size, exploded like a watermelon after a moment of bombardment. Endless brains and skull fragments sputtered across the universe. The whole world is infected. This. Each of the several elementary creatures in the galaxy was extremely shocked by this scene. This terrifying explosive exploded with a sudden attack, killing one of them, seriously injuring 3 others, and all the others were injured. Because the sizes of meteorite fragments are different, smaller ones are naturally they can defend it. They were still joking before, saying that if they worked together to fight against Jia Yan's explosives, they would be able to defeat it. But now when I think about it, what they were saying just now is now directly slapped in the face naked. They said it completely wrong. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1857. Every strong man looked ugly at this time. More importantly, they discovered that Jia Yan seemed to have prepared the meteorite explosive in subspace. So, is it possible that their plan to trap Jia Yan to death has already been exposed? This, one of us is dead. For the remaining 3 friends, you should withdraw from the battle group to recuperate, and then be around to support us later. There will never be too many explosives like him. The mid-level galaxy creature looked as if a relative had died. The 3 seriously injured elementary creatures of the galaxy turned around and retreated to the edge of the battlefield without saying anything. But they didn't leave directly. After all, the war has been going on now, and they are unwilling to leave. The price is too high. If they leave, they will not be willing to do so. Each of these strong men has experienced many battles and been promoted to this level of strength. Even if there is a slight surprise now, it is within their expectations. If Jia Yan was so easy to kill, he wouldn't be in this situation with the Ryan arm. Now that one person has died, they have all estimated that it is just the shadow of Jia Yan's explosives that makes them look a little ugly. It is difficult to say that this accident will be a good omen. After all, they had planned to trap Jia Yan. If it was Jia Yan launched a counter-attack and exchanged injuries for injuries, they could still accept the situation of killing one of them, but now the situation is indeed that Jia Yan was not seriously injured, but one of them died. This war is difficult to fight. I hope I will be one of those left behind. Several elementary creatures in the galaxy gritted their teeth. After fighting to this point, their star regions, their own cultivation, and even a lot of materials were invested in this war. They could not retreat, so they were fighting to fight Xia. After a fight with an enemy like Yan who was certain to die, they would not be the ones who died. That's right, even in such a tragic situation, they don't think their side will lose. Because there is still one person here who has reached the middle level of the galaxy, and there are 8 other people who are the first level of the galaxy. Even if Jia Yan has such an attack method, they are still confident. Jia Yan. You. Have you actually seen through our methods a long time ago? The strong man in the middle level of the galaxy looked crazy at this time. He originally thought that he and others had tried every means to cover up the movements here, and also used many instruments to detect whether there was any shadow of Jiayan in the subspace. What he thought was foolproof was actually arranged by Jiayan. Means, this shows that their arrangement may have caused a big accident. Haha, don't seniors think that I will die here? In that case, you can try it, you can also try it. Have I seen your methods? Jiayan was inside the subspace, holding his breath and concentrating, hearing the sounds from the outside world from a distance, and then gathered the power of his brain waves to send out these syllables to the outside world. You. At this moment, several galaxy-level beings don't know whether Jiayan saw through their methods and then deployed the meteorite explosive just now, or whether this meteorite explosive has been used to a great extent by Jiayan. The force drags the body behind. The possibility of the latter is not very high. After all, Jiayan needs strength to move. An object as large as 30 kilometers is definitely a big burden when placed in subspace and will greatly slow down Jiayan's movement speed. This is like an ordinary earthling who keeps dragging a chain while walking. This is extremely troublesome. Who would do such a thing if nothing happens? Of course, this was an extremely serious moment in the war, and they were not sure whether Jiayan had done this. Therefore, it is impossible to judge at all that Jiayan just happened to arrive here with such an exploding meteorite. Still ready. As for how the explosive power of this meteorite can be so terrifying, it is nothing to a galaxy-level powerhouse, because it is obvious that it is Jiayan's trump card, a galaxy-level junior's trump card. To achieve this level of strength is also possible, not to mention that Jiayan is not an ordinary beginner of the galaxy. He has just reached the galaxy level and killed a galaxy level creature. He is also extremely talented. After all these years, they may all be on the path to the elementary level of the galaxy, and it is natural for the elementary creatures of the galaxy to have such terrifying and unparalleled combat power. So they were not shocked by the power, they were just wondering if Jiayan only had such a life-saving trump card. If there are more, they will be miserable. Of course, no matter how much it is, it cannot exceed their imagination. Because those are life-saving trump cards that are unimaginable even at the galaxy level. They are so numerous that they are exaggerated and absolutely impossible. But what about the fact? Perhaps what Jiayan does next may shock this galaxy-level creature. Fortunately, my strength has improved, otherwise the 30-kilometer meteorite just now would have killed and injured myself. In the depths of the subspace, Jiayan almost encountered the depth of the 6th-dimensional subspace and approached the 7th-dimensional subspace. Here, the sounds from the outside world are already vague, and it feels as if they are extremely far away. He no longer thinks about whether he can kill the galaxy-level things outside. He was so satisfied with the effect of the huge 30-kilometer-long explosive just now. This is the first time Jiayan himself has used such terrifyingly powerful explosives to hit an enemy with a big one. In previous wars, although Jiayan often exploded meteorites for his subordinates and relatives to protect themselves, in fact, even Jiayan himself only used explosives with a maximum size of no more than 1 kilometer. Moreover, it is the kind of explosive that is stored for a long time once it is made, and its effect gradually weakens. Even because it is detonated by a clone, the power is much less. But the one just now was completely different. The power of this one made Jiayan's face change as soon as it exploded. The outside world may not be as close as him, and they may not be able to fully feel that he is right next to the explosive. When it exploded, the sense of life and death crisis in his heart reached an unprecedented level. He was thinking that if this explosive exploded in normal space, most of the galaxy-class people gathered in one place would probably die, because the power of this explosive would pass through the layers of subspace. After exhaustion, when he came out of the normal space, he was already much weaker. Moreover, it also offset the power of the 10 galactic-level attacks, including the all-out blow of the mid-level galactic expert, who was also blown away by the explosion of the meteorite. However, the power of the blast was still so huge. It can be seen that if a complete explosion will definitely open the eyes of the enemy. Of course, Jia Yang can't reveal too much about his explosive power yet. The enemy is still determined to defeat him, so Jia Yan must seize this opportunity and kill these strong men as much as possible. When they react, he will use all his explosives to complete the battle. In this way, this war will be completely over. Jia Yan. Now you have even used your last resort to protect yourself. Now let's see how you evade our attack. Did you hide in the 7th dimension? Humph, you can't enter the 8th dimension. You are our target and you can't hide at all. Several galaxy-level creatures did not even look at the corpse of the dead galaxy-level creature, but looked neatly into the subspace. Their strength is at the same level as Jia Yan, and one can still see Jia Yan's shadow in the 7th dimension. In particular, the middle-level galactic expert was looking at the interior of the subspace. He seemed to have the ability to sense in the distortion. He stared at Jia Yan from afar, not being dazzled by Jia Yan's fake moves at all. Go. This makes it much more difficult for Jia Yan to move his body. Sija 35, give me a blast. Suddenly, the mid-level creature from the galaxy suddenly shouted. The 5 primary galaxy creatures around him, except for the 3 injured galaxy-level creatures who had already dodged, all responded and then launched their full attack. Of course, these galaxy-level people believed in the judgment of the galaxy's mid-level seniors. They didn't think too much at all and just went all out. Within the subspace, Jia Yang Gong moved a little bit, and when he heard the faint sound from the outside reaching his ears, his expression changed slightly. This galaxy intermediate is truly worthy of being a galaxy intermediate, with such terrifying judgment. Because he was correct, after moving, he moved to the subspace of West 35th. Moreover, the enemy's attack speed is simply astonishingly fast. As soon as Jia Yan heard the sound, attacks were coming one after another. Puff! Bang bang bang! 6 rays of terrorist attack light from the front and back shot fiercely from outside the subspace. Facts have proven that it would be extremely terrifying if galaxy-level powerhouses join forces. Even if they are galaxy-level warriors who have rarely teamed up in the past, for them now, if they want to join forces, their sense of rhythm will change in an instant. Can be found. The previous bombing light wave from a mid-level galaxy powerhouse broke through countless distortions as quickly as possible, and came from the outside of the subspace to attack fiercely. The primary attack power of the galaxies behind it followed the trajectory of the bombardment power and came quickly. Because the attack power in front offset the obstacles in the subspace, their power arrived in front of Jia Yan. At that time, it was still not exhausted much. This caused Jia Yan to be a little shocked. But his reaction was not slow. After all, this place is the 7th dimension, his own natural territory. How could he not even have the means to react when the enemy comes? Phew. In the twisted subspace next to Jia Yan, there was a twisted darkness that was moved directly in front of him. This distortion was naturally his way of resisting external energy. How can you block it? Blow it up. The galaxy intermediate from the outside world struck hard at Jia Yan's twisted darkness. Puff. The distortion cracked. This mid-level star power also dissipated instantly. After all, it is a distortion force in the 7th dimensional space. He, a star mid-level energy, has broken through countless distortions along the way. If he is touched by this force, he will definitely it's going to dissipate. But it dissipated, and there was still the primary power of the 5 galaxies behind it. Although these 5 powers are not as terrifying as a mid-level galaxy powerhouse, they are still very terrifying. Jia Yan blocked the power of the mid-level powerhouse in the galaxy and blocked the most terrifying power. However, these 5 powers were difficult to block. The brainwave power competed to offset the primary energy of the 2 galaxies. But the power of the other 3 primary powerhouses from the galaxy came to them in an instant. Puff puff. Jia Yan could only feel three terrifying external forces hitting his body in an instant, which made him grimace in pain. You must know that for a strong person at the beginning of the galaxy, even if the individual body is weaker than Jia Yan, it will definitely be extremely painful to be bombarded by the three major energies at the same time. Snort. Jia Yan groaned. The giant mosquito secreted a trace of blood from its mouth, but as soon as this blood appeared, it was directly corroded by the distortion in the seventh-dimensional space and shattered into nutrients. Maybe if Jia Yan dies and his talent is no longer there, this terrifying giant mosquito body will be gone soon. Let's be swallowed up by this seventh dimension. It's like an old saying, if you hunt geese all day long, you will be blinded by the geese one day. He relies on his subspace talent to travel in the deep subspace every day. Perhaps his final destination will be nourishment for a certain level of space. After all, those with strong subspace talents seem to be swallowed up. Not only will the subspace not dissipate, but there will be opportunities to become more profound nutrients in the subspace. Of course, this is just Jia Yan's own random thoughts at this moment, and the moment he was distracted did not hinder his own movements. Puff. Jia Yan's space talent moved instantly and got out of the way. At the same moment, the mid-level galaxy creature outside saw that Jia Yan was instantly injured when he saw that his command was appropriate, and he immediately smiled. He felt that Jia Yan's subspace talent was limited to 7 degrees. If it was less than 8 degrees, they would almost definitely win. This time it's Dong bad. Get out of the way. When this mid-level creature from the galaxy and issued another command to the few junior-level powerhouses from the galaxy around him, almost preparing to use this move to force Jia Yan to death, his expression something suddenly changed. Because he felt that in another place in the space this time, there was actually another meteorite explosive that was not much smaller than before, and it suddenly smashed out from the subspace behind them. He could feel that other elementary creatures in the galaxy were a beat slower than him. This mid-level creature from the galaxy suddenly spoke out, and several junior powerhouses from the galaxy were stunned for a moment, but their ability to sense crises was still extremely strong. In an instant, everyone's expression changed drastically, and they evaded from the spot. At this moment, the expressions of each of the group of galaxy levels who had just prepared their strength to bombard Jia Yan changed drastically. Even the 3 recuperating galaxy levels who were standing aside for the time being were shocked and quickly stepped away. Because they all felt that a huge meteorite explosion like the previous one had exploded at the depth of the 4th layer of subspace and rushed directly towards the outside universe. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1858. It exploded inside the subspace just now. The power of the explosion killed a galaxy-level strongman here. Now it actually wants to rush to the outside of the subspace. How powerful can this explosion be without the obstruction of the subspace? Damn it, it's really there. I don't want to fight. Escape first. Each of the several elementary creatures in the galaxy changed their expressions drastically, and then ran away frantically. You know, the one just now has that kind of power. Even though this one doesn't look as big as the one just now, this time it is ready to rush to the outside world of subspace. In a normal universe, the power would be much greater. How could Jia Yan control a subspace object so far away and so big? Isn't he in the 7th dimension? No, there is his clone under this meteorite. Bastard, you actually use the clone like this. The escaping galaxy-level powerhouses, including the mid-level galaxy creature, suddenly discovered that there was a small shadow at the bottom of the explosive, carrying the meteorite explosive. Move forward quickly. This shadow is exactly the shadow of Jia Yan's semi-star level clone. Of course, it is not the clone of Earthling Jia Yan, but an ape-like clone. At this time, this clone did not care about its own safety at all, and instantly carried the meteorite from inside the subspace and rushed out. He even completely consumed all his own power in flying, not caring whether his body would be directly exploded due to excessive use of power. He didn't even care whether the meteorite exploded and his clone died. Originally, Jia Yan planned to split up and die together with the enemy. He had done this before, trading one clone for a galaxy class. Everyone would think it was a good deal, but it is even more so now. With such a huge meteorite explosion, even if one clone is killed, there are so many galaxy classes outside. If you accidentally blow up one or two, it's a great deal. Boom. Instantly, an extremely terrifying huge spherical object was ejected from the surface of the subspace. Then, at the moment when he came into contact with the normal universe, the clone figure under the meteorite explosion did not even give people time to see the true face of his shadow. In an instant, he aimed his brainwave power at the hunchback. This huge meteorite then completely detonated. Boom. The huge meteorite that had just left the subspace, together with the seemingly small body of several hundred meters under the meteorite, turned into explosive flames. This time's explosion was not an explosion within subspace, so the power of the entire exploding meteorite could directly affect a large area of cosmic vacuum. As for the group of galaxy-level powerhouses who escaped, each one had just left not long ago. Except for the faster ones, there were at least 3 or 4 others who were all in an area that was almost very powerful. When the flash of light came on, each of these galaxy-class screams. The power of the explosion was much more powerful than the 30-kilometer-long positive and negative force meteorite that detonated inside the subspace. After all, as a meteorite exploding outside the normal universe, this positive and negative force meteorite has almost no power consumed by subspace. Even though the power of the one just now was a little greater than this one, because it exploded deep in the subspace, its power was consumed layer by layer by the distorted subspace. By the time it reached the outside world, it was already at the end of its power and could kill a galaxy-level person. It is already extremely difficult. But now, although this meteorite is smaller than the previous meteorite, it is not much smaller, but it has completely exploded with all its power. This is also Jia Yan's most lethal meteorite, at least in terms of killing effect. Compared with the previous one, which only exploded in the subspace, it is much more powerful. And this also caused the screams of those galaxy-class people in front of the meteorite explosives to suddenly stop. Puff. An elementary creature from the galaxy who was closest to the center of the explosion heard its entire body turn into ashes. The one further forward is slightly better. His body is still focused on defense, and this is also the reason why the opponent is slow, because the focus is on defense. But today, he extremely regretted the main direction of his cultivation and focused on defense. It's okay to be able to prevent the explosive power behind him, but how can we prevent the explosive feeling of this power? It's impossible to prevent it at all. Bang! In an instant, the earth-shattering force hit his body hard, and the terrifying defense blocked it instantly. But it was just for a moment. After an instant, his defensive outer shell cracked layer by layer, and his body, which was fully 30 kilometers in size, was instantly turned into fragments in the terrifying explosion sound. The longer you persist, the longer the pain will be. This galaxy-level being actually persisted in this explosion for 10 seconds, and during these 10 seconds, his screams continued. But 10 seconds later, the scream stopped abruptly, just like the previous galaxy level. And because of this galaxy class's resistance, the galaxy class in front of him was affected by the explosion. It was much smaller, but there was still a huge amount of explosives that hit him hard. Then half of his body was torn apart, but the material that was torn apart happened to be the part of his body that was not his real body. This was also the talent of surrogate death for which this galaxy-level powerhouse got his name. After using this talent, this galaxy level cannot die for the time being, so he becomes the only survivor in the team that is slow to escape. In addition, further ahead, The several Galaxy-class escapers were each attacked by explosive ripples, but they were still not frightened by the power of these ripples. Being able to escape quickly generally means that the overall strength of these Galaxy levels is stronger than the following ones, except of course one or two who major in speed. As for those who were strong enough, they used their own defense force. After all, the explosion occurred for a certain distance. For them, it was not too difficult to resist. The three seriously injured elementary creatures from the galaxy were already far away at this time, and they had been careful about the aftermath of the battle, so they were quite good and alive and kicking. Just the injured people changed from the three of them to all of them in an instant. And two more died. Now, including the one who died initially, the entire Galaxy-level team lost 3 people in this battle, even before Jia Yan was seriously injured. That is, the original 10 galactic levels have now become the 7 galactic levels. As long as one more person dies, their original 16-man Galaxy-level coalition will be reduced by 10, leaving only 6. This was like a heavy blow to the entire Galaxy-level army. No one would believe this situation before the battle began. After all, I am just here to fight a Galaxy-level creature, not a mid-level Galaxy creature. But Jia Yan, an elementary creature from the Galaxy, had the same effect as fighting an intermediate creature from the Galaxy. A group of Galaxy-level sieges, and one was a Galaxy intermediate. After beating him alone, he was actually killed and wounded like this. No one wanted to believe that he was not a Galaxy intermediate. Jia Yan, I want you to die. The Galaxy mid-level creature did not suffer too much damage from the explosion, but the impact was unavoidable. He even took action just now, and the new Speed Galaxy primary creature protected him come down. At this moment, when he saw a group of elementary creatures from the Galaxy around him, they were dead and injured. Even he himself was shocked to a certain extent. Although he seemed fine now, it would definitely take a certain amount of time to recover before he could recover well. He was immediately furious, and felt that everything about him collapsed before his eyes. He has always known in his values that his mid-level galactic strength is absolutely unmatchable compared to other galactic-level creatures. His previous life also made him understand that even if he was only the weakest intermediate galaxy among the intermediate galaxy, he was still an existence that the elementary galaxy could not fight against. And this was the most confident way for him to invite a group of primary warriors from the galaxy to come here to seize Jia Yan's evolved beast body. As long as he gets Jia Yan's evolved beast body, he believes that he can advance to the Territory Lord level as quickly as possible. He doesn't even need the Territory Lord level. As long as he reaches the strongest state of the galaxy intermediate level, he will be satisfied. In the previous war, he had always believed that if Jia Yan jumped around again, he would never be able to hurt him. Even if Jia Yan used his clone tactics and killed many of the first-level warriors on their side, he was only afraid of him. That's all, it's not that he thinks Jia Yan can pose any threat to him. But things have come to this point. He's really hurt. Moreover, Jia Yan did not come forward in person. When he caused a frontal attack on him, he only used a clone to self-destruct a meteorite. In this way, he was injured, and the 2 primary creatures of the galaxy also died. The other primary friends of the galaxy were all physically injured. This kind of fighting power was instantly weaker than when they surrounded Jia Yan just now, and even his strength was a little weaker. This Jia Yan is so damned. He was almost furious. Get out of here, let's continue fighting if we can. This mid-level warrior from the galaxy was extremely angry and looked extremely furious. Bo. At the same time as he shouted, thousands of kilometers away from the big guy, the head of a giant mosquito gently emerged from the subspace. Jia Yan looked at the scene on their side and sneered. Your Excellency, you have a good plan. You are an intermediate level being of the galaxy. If you want me to fight head-on with a primary level galaxy, you might as well ask me to come out and die. You are so shameless, and you can only cultivate to the intermediate level galaxy. If you change someone else, you would have been killed earlier. He just crashed into a star and died. Are you calling me shameless? You are the one. Using such a foreign object is simply outrageous to both humans and gods. If others know that you use such a thing, they will definitely uphold justice for us. Even the territory lord will not let you go. The middle-level creature in Galaxy was almost furious and kept saying that Jia Yan was angry with both humans and gods. Ha ha ha, both humans and gods are angry at me? Foreign objects? Which of your eyes saw me using foreign objects? It's just a slap in the face. Are you galaxy-level creatures like this? It's a shame that I didn't promote to galaxy level before. A Zinc-level person has great respect for him, but now that he looks at it, hey, he is simply disappointed. Jia Yan smiled lightly, then his expression changed, and his head retracted into the subspace. It turned out that there was an attacking light in the distance, stabbing his head fiercely. Fortunately, Jia Yan dodged the attack. Snort. A low-level Xi creature quietly came to Jia Yan's side. He had been preparing for this blow for a while before shooting it. Unfortunately, his success failed. Sneak attack? Guys, you guys said that it was despicable for me to use the self-explosion material I refined. Don't you think the tactics you used were despicable? Ha ha ha, and so many people are attacking me alone, and you want to say that I am angry with both humans and gods. Such a galaxy level, it's just a ploy to make me lose something. Jia Yan's head continued to emerge from the subspace, and he looked at the galaxy class who quietly turned aside just now. This elementary creature of the galaxy should be a creature that is good at assassinating with sneak attacks. Even Jia Yan didn't notice the feeling that he left quietly just now. If his sense of self-defense hadn't been extremely strong, otherwise, he might have been killed by the opponent with just one blow. Fortunately, he hid quickly. Several people gritted their teeth and looked at Jia Yan's Xi class, each one a little disappointed. The mid-level galaxy creature shook his head dejectedly. The purpose of his conversation with Jia Yan was to get this elementary creature from the galaxy, who was famous for sneak attacks and assassinations, to come to Jia Yan's side, so that he could kill Jia Yan with one blow. Unfortunately, this trick didn't seem to work. You must know that the assassinated elementary creature from the galaxy had killed a strong person at the top of the elementary level of the galaxy, but it had no effect on Jia Yan. Your Excellency, your assassination is very powerful, but now, you have become my target, because you have hurt me a lot, so, you are going to die. Jia Yan's head looked at this elementary creature of the galaxy from a distance. When the other person's expression changed slightly, he penetrated into the subspace. Escape. That primary being of the galaxy, after his expression changed drastically, he fled towards the vacuum universe on one side without looking back. He didn't want to fight. The existence of a killer means that he can escape thousands of miles away with just one strike. Now several times, a group of galaxy levels cannot defeat Jia Yan. He also knows that staying here may not be effective, and he may even die here like the previous Death Galaxy levels. So he can't escape. He didn't even bother to take the direction of those Xingju who came with him, because if he escaped, he would be forced to join forces with them to fight Jia Yan. The outcome of such a battle, he felt, was already very uncertain. Haha, you actually chose to escape from the battlefield directly. But, it's too late. Rebirth of the giant mosquito in the starry sky only represents the author Buletanyu's views. If any content is found to be in violation of national laws, please delete it. Our position is only committed to providing a healthy and green reading platform. Thank you all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletanyu. Chapter 1859. To deal with an elementary creature from the galaxy who fled the battlefield and lacked the protection of other galaxy-level enemies, Jia Yan was no longer the person he was when he had just advanced. He needed to use a lot of combat power, and even used the ability to exchange injuries for injuries. Only by playing well can you kill the opponent. He is now dealing with the Galaxy class, and even his clones have killed so many Galaxy class. If he uses his true body, it will definitely be easier. Puff! Jia Yan's head shrank into the subspace. Not even a second passed before a ripple-like distortion appeared next to the body of the escaping subspace creature. In this pursuit, Jia Yan not only used great strength to fly forward, but also let himself detonate an ultra-small exploding meteorite behind his feet in the subspace. This meteorite gave Jia Yan an extremely shocking impact. This is why Jia Yan's speed in subspace suddenly increased so much. And this is also a small breakthrough for Jia Yan to study the diversity of his own tactics. Of course, this method of speeding up has many limitations. For example, he can only move so fast in places where small exploding meteorites have been placed. Also, due to space limitations, he can only move on the first floor or the second or third floor. The subspace of the layer is more effective, but the subspace of the deeper level does not have that much effect. However, no matter what, he made Jia Yan suddenly speed up, and in an instant, he rushed to the side of the Galaxy-class sneak attack, which was surprising enough. If it can even kill him, even if this method of research is useless in the future, it will not lose money. After all, it has killed a Galaxy novice. Of course, whether he can kill him or not depends on what kind of performance Jia Yan will have now that he is behind this Galaxy novice. At this moment, far away from the normal space, every Galaxy-level creature, including the mid-level Galaxy creature, was shocked by the twisted space surging behind the sneak attack on the Galaxy level. So fast. It can't be his clone. If the clone dares to intercept, it's absolutely useless. Humph, so what if it's Jia Yan? If this guy wants to escape, let him die. No, if he dies too, then too many of us will die here. The attitudes of several Galaxy-level beings are now polarized. Some want to rescue, while others refuse to save them. They even feel a little happy to die for this Galaxy-level being. After all, people who run away from battle are looked down upon by any civilization or strong person. Even if they want to save, they are only there to take the overall situation into consideration. But that Galaxy-level sneak attack creature was noticed by many Galaxy-level people at this time, but he no longer had that much thought. Because he also felt that there was a distortion in the subspace behind him. Moreover, this twisted subspace, which is rapidly expanding, is definitely not Jia Yan's clone, because the clone is not that big, and the subspace talent is definitely not so scary. Escape. This Galaxy-level man had no idea of stopping and fighting with the creatures that appeared in the space this time. He instantly increased his speed and flew away in an instant. As a Galaxy-level being, he naturally has his own set of fighting methods. Especially as someone who is good at assassinations and sneak attacks, his ability to miss a hit and then escape is extremely professional. Therefore, the speed at which he shot up was absolutely shocking and extremely terrifying. And just as this Galaxy-level being suddenly increased his speed, a shocking sharp object suddenly appeared in the subspace. It rushed out of the subspace in an instant and suddenly hit the Galaxy-level being who was still flying just now. Within a space. The space of this normal universe is like being cut by a sharp knife, and then ripples appear in the entire space, and there are even some directions. The gap between subspace and gravitational waves is almost cut. Unimaginably sharp. So close. The figure of the elementary creature of the galaxy, who was fleeing far away, looked back at the scene behind him, his eyes shrank, and he was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat. You know, even if he is a primary creature in the galaxy, it is extremely difficult to achieve the attack power of this stroke. In other words, he has to directly explode his power with all his strength to achieve the same thing. But the stroke of the foot from behind looked relaxed and freehand, as if the other party only used a very simple force. For this elementary creature in the galaxy, he understood in an instant how huge the gap between himself and Jia Yan was. Therefore, he has to run even harder. Oh! They were able to escape this attack. Sure enough, there are not many galaxy-level creatures that can be underestimated. Inside the subspace, Jia Yan's self-murmur sounded. He thought just now that his stroke would definitely kill or seriously injure the other person. But looking at it now, he knew that he had thought too much. If I had known earlier, I would have done more, and if I underestimated the galaxy-level creatures, there would be no good end. Jia Yan is not annoyed. Other galaxy-level creatures are slowly understanding him, so why isn't he slowly understanding the limits of the strength of these galaxy-level creatures? After all, the official battle between the two sides was only at this moment. They had fought for so many years, but they had never really met. This Jia Yan actually has such terrifying strength. Several Zing-level people saw Jia Yan's move from a distance. Combined with the sudden burst of speed he had used in the subspace just now, each of these creatures felt the feeling of something sharp scratching their necks. None of them thought that they could advance faster than Jia Yan. In other words, Jia Yan could catch up with any of them in the subspace by using the same traveling method just now, and then grab their necks. Cut it off directly. Don't worry. If Jia Yan can use this method of travel unlimitedly, he used it when he was avoiding us just now. He only uses it now, which proves that there must be something difficult to use. That's right, in such a tense situation just now, he would rather escape deep into the subspace and bear our attacks without using this method of escape. It is definitely because of some geographical or physical reasons that prevent him from escaping like this. So we don't have to worry. Under the guidance of the mid-level creature from the galaxy, several powerhouses from the primary level of the galaxy finally figured it out. Jia Yan's sudden advance method cannot be used all the time, or there may be some geographical restrictions. In fact, they were right, because Jia Yan's method of exploding meteorites and making himself suddenly travel faster requires a meteorite placed around him. Although there are already several clones of Jia Yan, who are sending meteorite explosives that he has arranged towards the main battlefield from all directions, this will take time. In addition to the meeting just now, Jia Yan is surrounded by people at his feet. In addition to some small meteorites, there are only one or two large meteorites. If you want such a large self-destruction to speed up, it is not as simple as speeding up, but it may kill him. Then that's ridiculous. So it is true that, as these galaxy-level powerhouses said, it will be difficult for Jia Yan to use such moves in the future, that is, there are restrictions. But at least the galaxy-level guy he was about to catch up with didn't need to use such moves to get close to him quickly. Asshole, he has retracted into the subspace again. This Jia Yan's speed in the subspace is faster than mine. No, I can't run away now. If I run away again, he can definitely catch up with me, so I want to return to the fighting team. The galaxy-level powerhouse who made the sneak attack had a hard expression on his face. Jia Yan, you asked for this. I don't want to be your enemy anymore, but you are still attacking me. So don't blame me for going back to besiege you. This galaxy-level being who made a sneak attack did not look back, but turned directly to the side of several galaxy-level creatures, preparing to use the power of everyone together to stop Jia Yan from pursuing him. Oh! I have a clear attitude. I was planning to leave the team just now, but I can go back now. Jia Yan looked at this galaxy-level creature and was about to return to the team, and suddenly sneered. In fact, he was preparing to kill him precisely because he considered that this galaxy class might see that the battle situation was favorable to the allied galaxy classes and would join the battlefield again. If the other party promised not to join the battlefield again, he would leave. If he never comes back, Jia Yan might really let him go. Of course, on the battlefield, even if the Galaxy class said he would never come back, Jia Yan would not believe it, because in this place of intrigue, who can guarantee that he will abide by whatever the other party said? So it's better to kill him. Puff. When the Galaxy-level being turned his head and fled back towards a group of Galaxy-level creatures with all his strength, another explosion broke out in the subspace. This time, Jia Yan used a piece of material from his body to explode behind his feet, propelling his body forward. Yes, this is Jia Yan's alternative plan. Even if he is forced to harm himself, he will definitely create extremely powerful attacks and speed. Don't forget, Jia Yan's body exploded with antimatter, which was much more powerful than those meteorites. So now, he only broke a small amount of exoskeleton material on his hind feet, which caused an explosion similar to the previous small meteorite explosion. The effect is extremely fast. How is that possible? The Galaxy-level creature that made the sneak attack originally thought that Jia Yan would never be able to move at a speed similar to the one just now, but he never expected that there would be another shocking speed attack light behind him. Jia Yan's front foot surged out of the subspace again, and this time he didn't hold back any longer. Block it for me. The sneak attacking star-level creature quickly roared and let its defensive energy fully expand. Even his Galaxy-level domain opened wide in an instant, dragging Jia Yan's outstretched foot as if into a kingdom of gods. Countless angel-like creatures were entangled in this foot, causing it to the speed of his feet slowed down momentarily. But it only slowed down for a moment, and the azure color brilliance on the feet flashed directly. Boom! All the angels, countless energies, and that godlike kingdom were like ridiculous tricks in front of the terrifying giant mosquito energy. They collapsed in an instant and shattered into endless ashes. The feet are still pierced. How could this happen? Seeing that the power of his own domain could not even resist the opponent's feet for a moment, this Galaxy-level creature spat out words of disbelief. But no matter how harsh the words were, they could not prevent him from dying. The feet stabbed down, piercing deeply into his body. Puff! Blood sputtered and countless brilliance bloomed. This Galaxy-level creature, who could escape many dangers and had great ability to avoid crises, actually, died here. This. With eyes wide open, he watched as his Galaxy-class friend who had fled to a place not too far away from him and others died in front of his eyes. Several Galaxy-class friends who had been rushing here were preparing to respond. The beings were immediately dumbfounded. Jia Yan, die. While others were still dumbfounded, the mid-level Galaxy creature was the first to react. He was not even frightened by Jia Yan's performance. After all, Jia Yan had killed so many primary Galaxy-level creatures before. Even if he killed a Galaxy-level creature with great escape ability this time, it was nothing to him. He just wanted to kill Jia Yan quickly. Before Jia Yan's feet had time to recover the subspace, this mid-level powerhouse from the Galaxy arrived in an instant. The attack method he used was to directly throw out a part of his body. This mid-level creature from the Galaxy has a very unique characteristic, that is, he can use a part of his body as a weapon and swing it directly, with a large distance, and the attack power is not weak at all, and can even be used to escape, etc. There are many advantages of waiting, so at this moment, he uses the other half of this body, which is definitely a sign of respect for Jia Yan. Boom boom boom. No one else could react. This mid-level Galaxy creature had already landed outside the subspace with one blow. At this moment, Jia Yan's feet had just retracted into the subspace. A mid-level creature from the Galaxy was, after all, a mid-level creature from the Galaxy. Even Jia Yan was a little surprised by his arrival. So fast. Jia Yan was inside the subspace, and quickly retracted his feet, but he still felt that the part of his body that was attacked by the outside world smashed the entrance to the subspace. Smash into the subspace. Die. The opponent's roars were transmitted to the subspace in bursts. Even because of the close distance, the roars contained terrifying energy that could only be found in the middle level of the galaxy. They seemed to have the same attack power and hit Jia Yan's body hard, causing him to the whole person felt slightly absent-minded. No, get out of here. Jia Yan quickly opened a section of his toe, which was the foot that was about to come into contact with the opponent's attack weapon. Puff. In an instant, the surface of the subspace, where the two came into contact, exploded for a foot. Rebirth of the giant mosquito in the starry sky only represents the author Buletinu's views. If any content is found to be in violation of national laws, please delete it. Our position is only committed to providing a healthy and green reading platform. Thank you all. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletinu. Chapter 1860. Anyway, according to Jia Yan, this section of the foot will definitely be destroyed after contact, so it is better to explode it first. The earth-shattering bombing sound was transmitted from inside the subspace to the outside world. The explosion at the foot was not very powerful because it was rushed out instantly and had no brewing effect. It had no good effect after brewing. But even if the power is not strong, it still suddenly explodes the weapon-like body parts that the opponent blasted. Blast it directly out of subspace. As for Jia Yan's own body, it was like flying, and he was blown backwards. Puff. Jia Yan's giant mosquito spit out a mouthful of blood. And the enemy, a mid-level creature from the galaxy, actually suffered the explosion from the front and suddenly spurted out blood. Puff. Under this blow, both parties were actually injured together. You must know that the other party may be a creature that has reached the middle level of the galaxy, but he and Jia Yan, a mere elementary creature of the galaxy, were injured together after one blow. It is extremely shocking. The tragedy. There was a hint of horror in the eyes of this mid-level galaxy being. You know, he was injured by Jia Yan just now, and this injury did not surprise him so much. Because no matter what he said before, he didn't admit that the injury was due to Jia Yan's strength. At most, he could say that the injury was due to Jia Yan's machinations. But it's different now. Jia Yan had just finished dealing with an elementary creature from the galaxy, and he stepped forward to attack him and injured him. This injury was equivalent to a head-on battle between the two sides. No matter how Jia Yan used his own explosive effect, it must be the opponent's own strength. In other words, even if Jia Yan fights him head-on, he will never lose anything. To the leeward one. Haha, Your Excellency, do you think that if I, Jia Yan, don't have any confidence in dealing with you, I will show up and fight with a group of you galaxy level directly? Jia Yan's strange body, still with a trace of scars, appeared outside the subspace. Faintly appearing, at this time, he is becoming more and more closely integrated with the subspace. Sometimes his body is between the inside of the subspace and the outside of the subspace, making him look like an animal that can't tell the difference between real and fake. Of course, the enemies were not shocked by Jia Yan's behavior. What shocked them was what Jia Yan's current strength was. What level of power are you? The mid-level galaxy creature looked ugly for a while, and then finally asked the question he wanted to know most. The other elementary creatures of the galaxy also asked similar questions. Jia Yan smiled silently. To be honest, even he himself didn't know what level of existence he should be considered. On the surface, his strength should be that of a primary level being in the galaxy, but he has already said that his yin-yang dao strength is not at all a level of strength that can be deduced from the level of ordinary cosmic powerhouses. Then he doesn't think that his strength is completely at the elementary level of the galaxy. Of course, even if it is a simple conversion, it is not wrong to say that he is at the elementary level of the galaxy. The total amount of energy of the primary creature in the galaxy is not much different from his, but in terms of actual combat power, he has countless advantages due to the explosion of yin and yang dao, his own body's self-destructive material, and his azure physique, etc., coupled with the advantage of the evolved beast's rapid recovery. When combined together, it far surpasses the ordinary galaxy primary level. As a result, Jia Yan is crushed against those of the same level. Even now, it is almost impossible to have a super level. According to the term level battle, after the galaxy level, the battle with an intermediate galaxy level ended in a draw. So others were shocked by his level, but Jia Yan himself was a little confused. No, he was also injured. This is definitely a trick. The mid-level galaxy creature suddenly saw Jia Yan's missing leg. Suddenly, as if he had found something worthy of his trust, he quickly said this. After all, he is a middle-level Xi being, and he is not willing to admit easily that Jia Yan can reach his current strength. Because he is an intermediate-level creature in the galaxy, he would definitely not want to admit the strength of a being whose surface level, energy level, or elementary level in the galaxy is the same as himself, because this is just an excuse for him to admit that he is weak. How could a strong and dignified man speak? Haha, forget it, if you say it's just being mystical, then just be mystical. Jia Yan smiled silently, and then his body continued to enter the subspace. In fact, if he didn't use his subspace talent, Jia Yan himself felt that there would still be a certain gap between him and this mid-level galaxy creature in a head-on battle. Just looking at the blow just now, he self-destructed a piece of his 4-foot material. He suffered explosion damage and self-inflicted damage, but the enemy only suffered some internal injuries. Under this situation, even if Jia Yan is an evolved beast, if he stays in the outside world and fights with this mid-level star, he will definitely be the one who dies in the end. No matter how fast he repairs, it will not be as serious as someone else's injury. Come with great advantage. But in fact, strength cannot be divided like this. Jia Yan's strength is naturally inferior to that of his opponent, but he still has his own subspace talent. If you can't beat it or are injured, then go back to the subspace and slowly adjust. Now, they probably don't dare to attack the inside of the subline casually again. The lesson just now is still vivid in their minds. How could they be so stupid? Jia Yan smiled, but didn't take it too seriously. He flew to the 6th floor of the subspace in one breath, and then entered the 7th floor under the distorted pressure. The injuries he suffered were still not very minor. Even though he has been fighting like a yin man in the subspace, and even just used meteorites for the main battle, the two head-to-head confrontations with this mid-level galaxy were short in duration, but in reality they were still it made him hurt. The intermediate galaxy is indeed well deserved. Under normal circumstances, if I were to fight him alone, I would have to use subspace and the explosive method of meteorites to slowly wear down his strength, and even have to be escaped by him in the end. But the current situation is different. He has friends to help him. Even if he is a little injured, he is probably still thinking that someone else will attack me, and then I will still be unable to resist their siege strength, and then die completely. So, he will not escape easily. This is Jia Yan's biggest advantage in killing the opponent. This is a psychological advantage. So Jia Yan knew what the other party was thinking, so he decided not to continue killing the other party's primary creatures of the galaxy. Otherwise, the intermediate being would be almost dead when he saw the primary creatures of the galaxy around him. Even if he and Jia Yan were to in a life-and-death fight, in the end there will be no one else to help him with the last hit, so he may all retreat. Hey, these guys actually dare to come to the outside world to watch. When Jia Yan was around the 7th dimension of the subspace, resisting the distortion of the 8th dimension, while he was healing here, he felt that there was actually a primary level creature in the galaxy outside the subspace. He looked outside and inside. He also wanted to tear open a hole and see if Jia Yan was healing inside. They also knew that Jia Yan was preparing to heal his injuries. After all, everyone knew that even a mid-level galaxy creature was hurt, so how could this primary level galaxy master not be harmed? If Jia Yan was not injured, then he was not a beginner of the galaxy, but a domain lord level creature. It is a pity that the strength of the first level powerhouse of galaxy is not enough for him to understand the 7th level of subspace at a glance. He silently observed the outside world, but found nothing, and then he was about to quit. A meteorite approaching quickly appeared in front of his eyes in an instant. What? Damn it, this thing actually exists? Run away. This primary creature from the galaxy is the fastest among the remaining primary creatures from the galaxy. His strength may not be enough, but his speed has made him recommended to come to the subspace to observe Jia Yan. Moving people. At this moment, he was about to curse. It was not Jia Yan who was scolded, but those friends who recommended him to come and see Jia Yan. These guys have tricked their father. Jia Yan actually still has this kind of meteorite. They thought it was gone. Now, no matter how fast he escapes, can he escape faster than this kind of exploding meteorite? He backed away quickly. The speed of this elementary creature from the galaxy was indeed extremely fast. When the self-exploding meteorite appeared in front of his eyes, this elementary creature from the galaxy made the fastest movement in his life. And his escape made several galaxy-level powerhouses not far away, including the middle-level galaxy creature, suddenly understand that this elementary-level galaxy creature was avoiding something, so they all ran away together. Is it Jia Yan? Is there any self-exploding meteorite material? How on earth was this made? Damn it, there are so many of them, and every energy is so terrifying. The mid-level galaxy creature's face was extremely ugly at this time. He knew that Jia Yan's strength was not what he thought before. It was so terrifying that he could not even be hostile to him, but he also knew that Jia Yan had all kinds of abilities. Trump card. The thing that hurt him the most was the self-exploding substance. Just now I thought that this material had been used up, but now looking at the elementary creatures of the galaxy that escaped, I knew that this material might still be there. Sure enough, when everyone retreated and the primary creature from the galaxy showed a certain despair on his face, a meteorite block that was much smaller than the previous self-explosion material, which was about a few hundred mi looked up and down, flying out of the subspace. Although it is relatively small, it is precisely because of its small size that it is extremely fast. Even this elementary speed creature in the galaxy cannot run away. In an instant, this small meteorite material exploded directly. Ah! Jia Yan, you. The elementary creature from the galaxy was about to say something to beg for mercy, but the horror of the explosive material made the next half of his sentence completely stuck in his throat. Although Jia Yan previously used explosive material as large as 30 kilometers, which was much more powerful than the self-exploding meteorite that was only a few hundred meters in size, in fact, Jia Yan used such a meteorite with a size of several hundred meters, it is enough to kill a galaxy novice. When he used his clones to kill these galaxy novices, he used meteorites of several hundred meters like this, and the effect was excellent. It's just that the power of this self-destruction is not strong enough. This elementary creature of the galaxy lasted at least 10 seconds before the power of the explosion destroyed his defense. In other words, he suffered a lot. 10 seconds passed before he died. This was also a great shock to the elementary creatures of the galaxy. An elementary creature of the galaxy actually died in front of their eyes, and it was such a painful way of death that for them, it was almost as if they were silent. Haha, Your Excellency actually wants to spy on me, so I have no choice but to kill him. Jia Yan's giant mosquito head appeared in another space. But he looked like he was a little too damaged, and he actually showed a sense of fatigue. And he seemed to be pretending to be very energetic in order to cover up this fatigue. If it weren't for the beautiful eyes of these elementary and intermediate galaxy creatures, it would be impossible to tell that Jia Yan was tired. Bluffing. Jia Yan is definitely bluffing. He is already tired. The use of this self-destructive substance will definitely not be without cost. Brothers, we are going to win, don't be afraid now. The middle-level being in the galaxy looked strange for a while, and then he hurriedly said this. He also knew that Jia Yan might have pretended to be like this on purpose, just to prevent them from running away and finish the final battle. This is exactly what he thought. After all, he believed in his own destiny and had some confidence to protect himself. He even thought about it, if a few more galaxy-level people present died, then in the end, he may be the biggest winner. Even if there are 1 or 2 elementary creatures from the galaxy left alive, then he will be able to kill the remaining people, and then monopolize the maximum benefit of killing Jia Yan. So he couldn't let other galaxy-level people around him have any thoughts of escaping. After all, he alone couldn't guarantee that he could kill Jia Yan. Even with this strength, it would be difficult to prevent Jia Yan from escaping in the subspace. This requires other galaxy primes to hold Jia Yan in check. Yes, we can still fight. We still have the advantage in numbers now. Jia Yan is tired. We definitely still have a chance. Another elementary creature from the galaxy also looked unwilling. He has paid too much for this war. The entire people's livelihood in his star domain has been consumed in countless ways to support this huge war. If he does not gain anything this time, then the entire people's livelihood in his star domain will be lost. Development will take at least 100 years to waste. Don't underestimate this 100 years. It has been enough to shake the people's trust in him. Even if he can still rely on his own strength to suppress others in the future, the public trust he can gain is different from that of others. The benefits will be greatly reduced. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1861. Several other elementary creatures in the galaxy are actually similar. Now their only support is to win this war, and then gain the power of Jia Yan. After training back, they have improved their strength, so that they can fight against the people in their own star domain. Talk to other senior executives. Far beyond the stars. When the battle started, using special technological methods, Jia Yan's clone used the Zerg Queen to observe the war here without any obstruction on that deserted planet. Oh, Jia Yan, you still have the energy to talk to me now. It can be seen that you are quite confident. Your Majesty the Queen, I am almost unable to support the spirit of this clone, haha. Jia Yan sat next to the Zerg Queen. This clone is also the appearance of the Earthling Jia Yan, but this does not mean that Jia Yan cannot create other clones similar to this clone. After all, there are no requirements for this kind of thing. It's just that it's difficult to compress energy into such a small body, so Jia Yan just created a few Earthling clones, and most of them used ordinary methods to create huge volumes like alien creatures. Jia Yan, you don't need to say more. I can see that your strength should be more than that. If you can really defeat this group of galaxy-level people, you will be qualified to join my team. By then, our interests will be better all divided together. The Zerg Queen smiled slightly and said this to Jia Yan. Even though the battle is not over yet, she can already see that Jia Yan can definitely win this war with this attitude. So she is already conducting the final recruitment test on Jia Yan. Although she also knew that Jia Yan should be willing to follow her, she could not guarantee that Jia Yan, a creature with such high blood and heart, would not feel that he should because of his talent be a subordinate of another strong man. It's just that the Queen of the Zerg is also thinking that this evolved beast doesn't know the level of his own talent. Sometimes he thinks too highly of himself, which is not always a good thing. Oh? Are you just qualified? As expected, Jia Yan's clone, who looked like an Earthling, frowned slightly. He didn't feel at all that he was really just qualified. He can defeat so many ordinary primary level creatures in the galaxy, and if he adds an intermediate level creature, is he just qualified? Jia Yan was wondering if the Zerg Queen was deliberately suppressing him. But after carefully looking at the appearance of the Zerg Queen, it seemed that she did not mean to make fun of Jia Yan at all. Suddenly, Jia Yan's clone was also a little stunned. Could it be that she really just thought that she had only shown the ability to be qualified to join her team? So, what kind of talents do the geniuses who join the Zerg Queen team have? Could it be that each of them has their own strength? Jia Yan was thinking about it, but unfortunately, this clone was just a clone after all, and his main energy now was on his real body, so he couldn't think of a reason. So Jia Yan was stunned again. Are you going back to fighting with all your heart? He's working really hard. Do you want me to see him become more powerful? Haha, it reminds me of my past. The Zerg Queen smiled slightly, and then she seemed to have thought of something and was in a trance. As a person with even more talent than Jia Yan, the Zerg Queen had to face similar battles at the beginning, but she was even more powerful. When she was in the first level of the galaxy, she had already faced 2 mid-level galaxies at the same time, but the Zerg Queen was on the frontal battlefield. She killed 2 primary galaxies in one breath. After that, she was noticed by a large number of powerful people, and even domain lord level beings came to her Zerg domain, which resulted in a larger scale war. Almost even the Zerg Queen was forced to death. Fortunately, her talent was so amazing that it didn't take too long to advance to the middle level of the galaxy. At that time, she actually showed some strength against the domain lord. Then, as she quickly became stronger, the Zerg territory became aggressive. Then when the Zerg Queen herself was promoted to territory lord, she took revenge and repaid kindness. The entire local star field, they were all beaten to pieces by her. Several major domain lords were killed by the Zerg Queen, and the enemy even attracted a large number of powerful domain lords, beating large areas of the starry sky to pieces. But unlike Jia Yan's senior evolutionary beasts, she was even more talented. Stronger and more terrifying in strength, so unlike the predecessors of the evolved beast clan, she won the final victory in the siege of the domain lords. After several wars, she defeated all the domain lords around her and no longer dared to say a word, and even attacked the clan's larger domain. It has expanded several times, becoming a well-deserved largest surrounding area. However, the Zerg Queen was also thinking about going one step further. After learning about the Milky Way central star field and the horrors there, she thought of forming a small team of her own. However, she was arrogant, and of course she did not want to prepare a team. Instead of an ordinary team, she was preparing to form a team of all talented people, because she still thought that in the extremely difficult and dangerous place in the center of the galaxy, he could let a few talented beings break through to the domain master, and then come to her side. There are helpers who help her advance to the lower levels of the galaxy. This Jia Yan is one of the geniuses that her clone has chosen. But she knew that this genius was a little arrogant and thought that his talent was not bad. He even didn't believe the Zerg Queen's words. Jia Yan really didn't think that his talent was so bad that he was just qualified. Maybe it was the Zerg Queen's provoking method? Jia Yan was a little wary of this existence that was a bit dangerous for both his mere clone and his real body. Although he also wanted to cooperate, what he wanted most after all was not to be cheated by the other party. The Zerg Queen was testing him, and he was also testing the Zerg Queen. If the other party is planning to raise Jia Yan to the middle level of galaxy first, and then kill him like other galaxy levels to gain the benefits of an evolved beast, then Jia Yan will have no place to cry. Go. Although Jia Yan doesn't think that the Zerg Queen really just thinks that she has just obtained the qualification to join the team, he agrees that the strength of this Zerg Queen has definitely reached a level that even Jia Yan can't even imagine. Because she was a territory lord, and she was able to fight against the evolved beast seniors. Countless territory lords who all came back defeated joined forces in the killing battle. In turn, she killed many enemies and made the whole starfield surrender. Jia Yan knew that, at least for now, he would still be difficult to fight against such a being. So he was also thinking that if his strength was cheated by the other party, then he would have to wait to die. It is a pity that Jia Yan is still difficult to determine what the other party is thinking because of the distance between people's hearts. If Jia Yan feels that she has the slightest thought that is not good for her, then she will never go with the other party, and even her real body will not appear in front of this clone. Because of the opponent's ability to create people out of thin air, Jia Yan was very wary. Even if he never dared to imagine that he would be caught by a clone with superficial energy and only a star level, he was not afraid of anything. At least the opponent Jia Yan is simply unable to achieve the ability to create a flaming man with his bare hands, and it is difficult to even understand it. He actually put his whole heart into fighting again. This guy, I don't know if his talent meets my requirements. Also, he actually thinks that I will calculate the secret of his evolved beast? Haha, in fact, it's quite possible. No, every strong person has his own path. Those under the territory lord may be attracted by the rumors of evolved beasts, but those at the territory lord level, or the more powerful creatures among the territory lord, will not think of it. What kind of power can be obtained by using the body of the evolved beast? Because at this point, they are already considered to be the top beings in the entire galaxy. They will all know that even if the evolved beast is a race left by the senior galaxy peak to break through the galaxy peak, in reality it is difficult for us to learn from it, because it is just the direction of his own path. Of course, if the probability of obtaining it is very high, it is difficult to say whether someone will kill an evolved beast casually, and then study it casually. After all, it is also the experience of our predecessors. Presumably, the evolved beasts were besieged in the past because the domain masters who besieged them were relatively weak beings. Seeing Jia Yan immersed in his own battle again, the Zerg Queen sighed. Jia Yan herself thinks that she is more powerful and more effective, but she knows deep down in her heart that even if the corpse of an evolved beast is placed in front of her eyes, she will probably not be moved. After all, she is also a super genius is a much more terrifying powerhouse than Jia Yan. She has her own temper and believes that she disdains to follow other people's paths, so she will definitely not learn from the research path of the evolved beast. But Jia Yan couldn't understand her thoughts, so he could only sigh. Puff. Above the star, Jia Yan stabbed a foot into the abdomen of an elementary creature from the galaxy, and then pulled it out fiercely. This elementary creature from the galaxy couldn't believe that Jia Yan was actually so strong. He thought he could block it just now, but unfortunately he only blocked it for half a moment before being hit by Jia Yan's other foot. Stabbed into his abdomen. What am I? Since I am attacking with the Orion arm, you must bear the corresponding consequences. Now, just die. Jia Yan smiled silently, and then his brainwave power exploded. Bang! This elementary creature from the galaxy exploded into blood flowers in the starry sky. At the same time, a galaxy elementary creature, who was also the most offensive among the enemies, came quietly behind Jia Yan, and his attack force was directly aimed at Jia Yan's body. The head area was struck with one blow. Succeeded. This Zing novice looked happy. You must know that this is a being who killed many of their first-level friends in the galaxy, and then left a middle-level strong person in the galaxy helpless. If he succeeds in this attack, then the reputation of killing the opponent will be lost. It fell on him. Succeeded? You are overthinking. Jia Yan laughed, and then turned around. He turned his head to avoid the opponent's attack, then slid his foot and stabbed directly into the opponent's head along with the force of his turn. I just said that the creature that wanted Jia Yan's head to explode had its own head exploded by Jia Yan's blow. The surrounding Zing novices, who were still preparing to besiege them, looked embarrassed for a while. In the distance, the mid-level galaxy powerhouse who had just attacked Jia Yan, but was hid in the subspace by him and was separated by a distance, came quickly. Seeing so many primary creatures of the galaxy, he was killed by Jia Yan again. His expression became ugly for a while, and he was also a little depressed. He has nothing left to hold on to, but unfortunately, only now does he know how difficult it is to deal with the existence of subspace talents. Jia Yan's subspace talent may be the most terrifying and the most troublesome among all the subspace talent experts he has encountered. In addition, Jia Yan's yin and yang dao, as well as his various methods and talents, made this mid-level powerhouse in the galaxy feel that he was a bit unacceptable after fighting Jia Yan several times. Such a creature of the elementary level of the galaxy, even though its energy is of the elementary level of the galaxy, it cannot be killed, and its attack power is shockingly terrifying, especially the explosives that no one knows when they will appear, which makes him panic. The wind was trembling and I was very nervous. Jia Yan, don't run away if you can, fight me. This mid-level galaxy creature flies extremely fast in the universe. Even if Jia Yan does not move into the subspace, it will be at least 1 or 2 times slower than him. In an instant, he is close to Jia Yan and several galaxy beginners. The venue for high-level confrontation. But Jia Yan ignored him at all. When he approached, he stepped back. Phew. While this mid-level creature from the galaxy was furious, and several elementary-level creatures from the galaxy showed relief in their eyes, he retreated into the subspace. Attack him, hurry up, he has just entered, you can easily injure him. The mid-level creature in the galaxy roared directly, causing all the primary creatures in the galaxy to take action. However, under his shout, the remaining elementary creatures in the galaxy retreated. They refused to attack at all. Sir, we have attacked him so many times just now, but there is nothing we can do against him. I heard that Jia Yan is a being with extremely strong recovery ability. The evolved beast has good recovery ability, so even if we can slightly injure him, it will not hurt him, it has no effect. Yes, sir, why don't we retreat for now, and then come back to take his life after the discussion is complete next time. Of the top 10 beings that came, now there are only 5 of us left. Sir, if you don't leave, you will be fine. We are afraid that the rest of us will stay here forever. It turned out that these creatures had already discussed it. After this blow, they became afraid and prepared to leave the battlefield. And this time they did not escape separately, because they had learned from the past. They knew that if they escaped separately, everyone would die under Jia Yan's subspace speed, so everyone gathered in one place and fled together. Even if Jia Yan caught up, they are by no means incapable of protecting themselves. Pull up to load the next chapter S-U003 Era Birth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1862. You just make me so angry. The mid-level creature in the galaxy looked extremely ferocious at this time. He was extremely angry. You must know that a galaxy-level being is generally not too afraid of creatures of the same level as himself. Even if there is a certain strength difference between the two parties, it is impossible to be this bad. But now, they are really afraid of Jia Yan, an elementary creature of the galaxy with the same level as them. This is not because their strength is too weak, but because the evolved beasts in front of them are really powerful to the limit. Even this strong man in the middle level of galaxy is helpless against Jia Yan. Other existences in the elementary level of galaxy will be killed by Jia Yan in 1 or 2 strikes. Now, there are only 5 of the 10 galaxy level beings besieging Jia Yan, including the mid-level galaxy powerhouses. Under this situation, how can the primary level galaxy powerhouses who are similar in strength to Jia Yan not be afraid? Sir, it's not that we don't want to contribute, but this Jia Yan is really something we can't deal with. Why don't you find a way to escape from the battle? He should have been arranged in this starry sky a long time ago, so our operation this time has definitely fallen into his trap. It is better to retreat and find more partners to deal with him. That's right, Senior, it's not that we don't want to deal with Jia Yan anymore, it's that we're not strong enough now. The right way is to wait until we go to the outside world to recover, and then invite other friends to come and surround him. Sir, please retreat as well. Several elementary level creatures from the galaxy, instead of escaping on their own, wanted to drag this mid-level creature from the galaxy with them. They didn't really care about this mid-level galaxy powerhouse, but wanted to pull this mid-level galaxy being out of the battle together, so that they would have a huge guarantee during their escape. It's a pity that how can a dignified mid-level creature from the galaxy admit defeat, or even choose to run away in front of an elementary level creature from the galaxy. Asshole, why are you running away? We still have 5 powerful men, and you actually want to run away? You think highly of this Jia Yan, and I haven't said that I'm not as good as him. This mid-level galaxy creature instantly struck deep into the subspace that Jia Yan had just entered. Jia Yan, who was still inside the subspace, looked at the series of changes in the outside world indifferently. He was about to chase down the 4 primary creatures of the galaxy that had escaped with a sneer, but he felt a series of attacks coming from the outside world. Oh! This guy actually attacked me, and then he fought me alone. Aren't you afraid of this? Jia Yan was slightly shocked. But he was only slightly shocked for a moment. It was definitely not beyond Jia Yan's expectation that the other party would attack him. After all, there are middle-level people in the galaxy who are worthy of face. How could they not even dare to take the initiative in front of a junior star-level person? Humph. It's a waste of energy. For the sake of face, such a mid-level galactic person even forgot to save his combat energy. The power that allowed me to dodge so easily, what else is it if it's not a waste? Jia Yan easily dodged for a moment and dodged the power. But because he had to evade, he couldn't set out to chase the 4 primary creatures of the galaxy that had escaped. Oh! This guy, could it be that he was giving those 4 elementary creatures of the galaxy a chance to escape? He is a bit benevolent. Suddenly, Jia Yan understood the other party's operation. It's a pity that this is a creature that wants his own life. He will not have the slightest affection for him because of his actions. Jia Yan, if you have the ability, come out and fight me alone. Let's have a good fight. The mid-level creature from the galaxy suddenly shouted from outside the subspace. I will not accept your provocation, Senior. If you don't let me hunt down these 4 primary galactic creatures, I will hunt them down. Jia Yan smiled slightly, immediately twisted his direction, and chased in the direction where the 4 primary creatures of the galaxy were fleeing. Damn it! Jia Yan, you didn't fight me, but went after someone who no longer had the will to fight. Are you still strong? The mid-level galaxy creature suddenly drank, became furious, and chased Jia Yan from outside the subspace. In fact, he is not that good, just because Jia Yan has indeed shown a strength that makes him a little afraid. At this time, he asked the 4 primary creatures of the galaxy to leave because he knew that among the 4 primary creatures of the galaxy, there are 2 people who have a very good relationship with him, and these 2 creatures will definitely find ways to recruit galaxy-level helpers from the outside when they go out. They had received information that there were other galactic-level teams arriving around the Orion Arm. If they were preparing to take advantage of others' danger, then if these 4 primary galactic creatures went out and said that they would join forces with each other, they might be punished. They accept. And those galaxy-level forces joined the ranks of attacking Jia Yan. No matter how powerful Jia Yan was, he had to surrender after a long battle. In that way, he got the flesh and blood of the evolved beast, and the biggest reason why he didn't escape was that he knew that even if he wanted to leave, Jia Yan would probably not let him go, so he simply didn't leave. After all, he didn't have the talent for subspace. Instead of being in other places, where Jia Yan can enter the 8-dimensional space, and then continue to sneak attacks without anyone noticing, it is better to stay here and keep fighting with Jia Yan, waiting for rescue. Unfortunately, Jia Yan was not fooled at all and ran to fight the 4 primary galactic creatures. This made him a little annoyed. This Jia Yan, who obviously had such terrifying strength, did not seem to be a being who was greedy for life and afraid of death. He actually showed that he had a strength similar to that of a mid-level creature from the galaxy. The mid-level creatures decided the winner so that they could make a name for themselves, but chose to continue chasing the strong men of the same level who were ready to escape. This is too inconsistent with other strong people's ideas. Haha, the more you don't let me chase you, the more I will chase you. Jia Yan was inside the subspace and looked behind him. After the series of battles, Jia Yan was actually a little tired. Even if his strength recovered quickly, after all, he was dealing with so many galaxy-level beings. No matter how fast he recovered, he would not be exhausted as fast. So he used up a lot of energy. Is this guy really doing it for the benefit of others? No, definitely not. Even if Jia Yan had some sense, he didn't expect for a moment that they were planning to let several of the fleeing elementary creatures from the galaxy go to the outside world to join forces with others and fight against Jia Yan together. So he really took a high look at the mid-level creature from the galaxy. Of course, if he really knew the opponent's plan, he would definitely sneer at him instantly. Still chasing. Each of the 4 primary creatures of the galaxy in front had certain injuries. Seeing vague shadows chasing after them in the subspace behind them, each of them looked solemn. After all, they were at the galaxy level and had experienced desperate situations many times. However, after reaching the primary level of the galaxy, they rarely felt such a sense of death, so they were a little panicked when escaping. But the strong are still strong. Even if they panic, they don't show too much fear. Does this Jia Yan really want to kill us all? How is it possible? He should know clearly after thinking about it. When we came here, there were 10 galaxy-level beings. He, a primary creature from the galaxy, if you plan to kill us from the beginning, how confident would you be? I also think he should think so. He just doesn't know what countermeasures he will have if we escape. If he wants to kill us, he should have countermeasures. If Jia Yan had planned to keep all of them in the starry sky from the beginning, then they felt that Jia Yan should have seen the situation in which they would escape, so he should be prepared. Haha, according to me, he just hasn't thought about this, otherwise how could he not even be prepared at all? An elementary creature from the galaxy was smiling and comforting himself, but before he could finish his words, his entire expression changed. Because he had already felt that in the subspace in front of them, there was suddenly an explosion shadow faster than Jia Yan's arrival, attacking in an instant. Damn it! Crow's mouth. This Jia Yan is really prepared. Is this his explosive? Asshole, he is really planning to keep all of us here, surrounded by explosives. Hide quickly. The expressions of several elementary creatures in the galaxy changed instantly, and then all of them fled to the surroundings. There is no talk of a joint escape at this moment. Everyone must have gone their separate ways when disaster strikes, without even a single thought of others. The strong are the strong, and everyone will always only care about themselves, even Jia Yan is no exception. Buzz. But as fast as they escaped, the approaching shadow was even faster. In an instant, with the power of the explosion, it rushed through the subspace area and appeared in the normal space. The size of this explosive meteorite is smaller than the ones Jia Yan initially detonated. In other words, this one is the normal level among Jia Yan's meteorites. However, the power of the explosion is definitely not weak. How did this happen so fast? Several elementary creatures in the galaxy couldn't understand that although this meteorite was not big, it came faster than other meteorites. What they didn't know was that if Jia Yan's layout in the subspace was as simple as what they had seen before, it wouldn't consume a lot of his energy. This came quickly because Jia Yan created the ejection device. The so-called ejection device is just another small meteorite that can be detonated. The meteorite exploded in another place far away, blowing the meteorite to where he wanted the meteorite to go. This is natural. After all, the entire battlefield is so huge. If Jia Yan simply arranged some exploding meteorites in subspace, what terrible chance would he have to encounter these strong men who escaped? Maybe people just passed by the self-exploding meteorite for thousands of kilometers, which is still close. So having such an ejection device is a must. Jia Yan now ejects such a meteorite, which actually consumes 2 meteorites, but with such speed and effect, he is willing to waste the other one. Escape. Several elementary creatures in the galaxy watched the meteorite fly out of the subspace, and each of them felt numb. They scattered in all directions, but the meteorites had already arrived, so how could they wait for them to escape? So, boom. The shocking explosion caused all creatures present to feel the world shaking. Ah! Jia Yan, you don't deserve to die. Each of the 4 primary creatures from the galaxy roared angrily. Although the explosive power of this self-destructing meteorite is much weaker than the previous ones, the energy of these 4 primary galaxy creatures is also lower than before, and each of them has injuries. Therefore, the first creature that encountered a self-exploding meteorite was suddenly riddled with holes by the force of the explosion. Before he died, he did not forget to scold Jia Yan. As for the few elementary creatures in the galaxy at the back, they were not so easy to die, but 2 of them were still blown up by the explosive force of the meteorite after using up their defensive energy, almost screaming in agony, and were seriously injured and dying. This is not over yet, but of these 4 creatures, 1 died, 2 were seriously injured, and the other one also suffered some injuries. On the side of their bodies, there was another self-exploding meteorite that rushed out of the subspace in an instant. The size of this meteorite is not as small as the previous one. The appearance of this one before could be said to be to cover its arrival. While the self-destruction energy continued, ripples rippled in this space, and the subspace became chaotic. This huge meteorite received almost no attention from anyone. But as the instigator, Jia Yan naturally paid close attention. He sneered, and then in an instant, he issued a command in his mind, causing the meteorite to explode directly. Buzz. This meteorite did not even completely approach the outside of the subspace. It exploded in an instant right next to the edge of the subspace. In the previous explosion, the primary creature from the galaxy who was not seriously injured due to the long distance was feeling lucky. He believed that his luck this time was a reflection of his ability to quickly escape from this battlefield. So he was extremely sure in his heart, thinking that he would definitely be able to save the day soon, and even go to a certain star field to invite other galaxy-level beings to join us just as the middle-level galaxy senior secretly sent him a message. While Jia Yan wasted a lot of physical energy, he killed Jia Yan in one fell swoop. He was imagining that this evolved beast was so terrifying, so the benefits of getting his body should be real, so if he got the body of this evolved beast in the future, he might really go one step further and enter the middle level of the galaxy. You must know that the status and strength of the middle level galaxy and the primary level galaxy are not the same, so his lifelong wish can be regarded as achieved. But just when he was daydreaming, an explosive approaching quickly, while everyone was frightened by the previous meteorite explosive, it detonated right next to him in an instant. Boom. What? Ah. I don't want to die. This elementary creature from the galaxy still had a happy expression on his face, but he was instantly swallowed up by the explosion flames unwillingly. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1863. Even though he didn't want to die, this elementary creature from the galaxy was still dead. The arrival of this explosive caused the existence that suddenly appeared in front of the four elementary creatures of the galaxy to die. Two explosives killed two elementary creatures in the galaxy. Only the two who were running in the middle were still alive, neither fast nor slow. They were even seriously injured. Haha, don't I have to die a good death? Maybe, but you can't see it anymore. At least your death is not a good one. Jia Yan was in the subspace, looking at the light of the explosion, and then felt a little emotional. Over and over, more than a dozen galaxy-level beings died in his hands. With the mid-level master from the galaxy in front of him, there were only 3 enemies left. The forces that he thought were impossible to win at the beginning were slowly defeated by him in various ways, and their final formation was completely lost. Not even half of the original momentum existed. There is also a mid-level galaxy being who can pose a certain threat to him. For the other few, Jia Yan feels that even if he does not kill them, they will lose their way to continue to advance if they go back. After all, not every creature has them. The terrifying self-healing ability of evolved beasts. In other words, no matter what the final outcome of this war between him and the Zinc Intermediate was, at least Jia Yan took advantage of the Xi Intermediate, and he killed more than a dozen people until only 2 major beings were left. Not to mention, even these 2 people were seriously injured. Jia Yan. You. The mid-level creature from the galaxy looked at the 4 primary creatures from the galaxy that were escaping not far away from him. Jia Yan killed 2 of them in one breath. The remaining 2 were too frightened to escape anymore and headed towards them. This mid-level galaxy creature fled here, suddenly furious and completely trembling. He was extremely angry. Amid this anger, there was also a little bit of panic. Because he felt that he seemed to be in danger. After all, as a mid-level creature in the galaxy, he originally thought that he only needed a few moves to kill Jia Yan, but now after fighting Jia Yan several times in person, he knew that Jia Yan was not that simple a beginner in the galaxy. He couldn't kill the level creature with one blow, so it was difficult for him to get rid of Jia Yan. This elementary creature from the galaxy was not only extremely powerful in actual combat, but also had something that made him a little afraid of. It was his extremely amazing explosives. There is also the subspace talent. Even if he can defeat Jia Yan, as long as he is not killed in one blow, Jia Yan may use the subspace talent to escape. This elementary creature from the galaxy was more difficult to kill than he thought. In other words, even he now feels that he should not be able to kill this evolved beast. So now, fight or run away. This mid-level galaxy creature was silent, looking at the 2 seriously injured primary level creatures from the galaxy that came to him. There were bursts of thinking in his eyes, and then he suddenly stepped back. You help me resist this Jia Yan, and I will definitely avenge you. He said coldly to the 2 elementary creatures of the galaxy. Ah! Sir, how can you? What? We can't beat him, and we can't stop him for long. The 2 primary creatures of the galaxy looked at this mid-level being of the galaxy and suddenly looked confused. You know, they have been following this mid-level galaxy creature and accompanying him to kill Jia Yan, but now, this mid-level galaxy creature actually wants them to resist Jia Yan? Didn't he himself keep saying that as long as Jia Yan dared to meet his true face, he would kill Jia Yan instantly? This guy actually wanted to escape on his own when they were seriously injured. Yes, you block him well, and I will avenge you next. The mid-level creature from the galaxy stepped back with a smile. He stopped fighting. That's right, he thought that he probably couldn't kill Jia Yan. Without helpers, and he was not strong enough to kill Jia Yan with one blow, he might as well run away. Anyway, everyone else present was dead. Even if there were other weak fleets who saw the scene from a distance, they didn't understand what happened. They just killed all the Jia because of his strength. Only those who cooperate with us leave, not those who give up on others and run away. Jia. Just kill those two guys. Kill them, and I won't make any counter-attack against you. He roared suddenly towards the surrounding subspace. Inside the subspace, there was silence for a long time. Jia sighed silently inside the next row. This mid-level galaxy creature can be considered a decisive person. He obviously still has a lot of fighting power, and even if he fights head-on, Jia may not be able to defeat him. It's just that people thought that Jia subspace talent, the explosives, and his yin and yang dao and other advantages made the galaxy intermediate feel a sense of crisis, so he left. After all, he knew that the remaining two primary creatures of the galaxy were already seriously injured and would not be able to join forces with him to kill Jia. It would be equivalent to killing Jia alone. If they fight now or fight again in the future, they would still be able to kill Jia. It's not the same. It's better to retreat, go through the battle process this time, summarize how to deal with Jia, and you will be more confident next time. His idea is naturally perfect, because this being is indeed a level higher than Jia. This is a gap that cannot be filled with other things. As long as he really figures out how to deal with Jia, he can crush him with strength. It is really possible to achieve the opportunity to kill Jia in the future. It's a pity that two seriously injured elementary creatures from the galaxy were sold by him like this. Ha, you think I will kill them, but I won't. Jiayan's eyes exuded bursts of terrifying light. In this mission against the enemy, he himself determined that the most basic principle was to kill this mid-level galaxy being. Not only can this be explained to the Queen of the Zerg, but it can also be shown to the surrounding star field that he can kill even a mid-level galaxy. If they want to use the Orion arm, they should think carefully. If he had not been killed, the Zerg Queen would have lost some momentum, and to the outside world, this victory would not have that much of a deterrent effect. Therefore, this mid-level galaxy creature must be killed. As for these two, Jia looked at the two desperate elementary creatures from a distance. It is absolutely impossible to conquer them. They are also elementary creatures in the galaxy, not to mention their own enemies. God knows when they will rebel again. In the case of sneak attacks, even Jia may be succeeded by them. They have been seriously injured, so. Jia thought for a while and passed on an order. Then, he quickly set off, moving quickly into the subspace to pursue the mid-level galaxy creature. Huh? He didn't kill the two primary creatures in the galaxy. Could it be because his own strength has also greatly declined, and now he doesn't have enough energy? Far in the depths of subspace, the mid-level creature in the galaxy looked behind him silently, only to see that the battle he expected did not happen. The two desperate primary creatures of the galaxy also flew behind him, seemingly wanting to follow him and fight a bloody path. But he would never take these two with him. He is much faster in terms of speed. Humph, if I find out that your strength is declining, I will turn around immediately. This mid-level galaxy creature muttered to himself. He was so unconvinced that he was beaten like this by an elementary level creature from the galaxy. If other intermediate level creatures from the galaxy found out about it back home, they might not know how to laugh at him. But just as he was talking to himself like this, "Your Excellency, there is no need to look back. I will deliver it to your door myself." A cold voice with a hint of sarcasm came out in the subspace. The mid-level creature in the galaxy suddenly changed its expression, and quickly turned its head to look at a subspace place. Puff. As expected, a foot slowly stretched out from within the subspace. "Your Excellency, you are walking so fast, do you think that I, Orion Arm, have not treated you well? Haha, why don't you stay and let's continue to have a heart-to-heart talk?" In the eyes of that mid-level galaxy creature, Jia Yan's figure stepped out of the subspace very naturally and gracefully. There was no sense of energy deficiency in his body at all after the battle. Although this is not the case in fact, it also expresses that even if Jia Yan has a deficit, it is definitely not to the point of being unable to fight. At this moment, the mid-level strong man from the galaxy suddenly looked ugly. Jia Yan, it's hard for you and me to defeat each other now. I understand your desire to kill me, but aren't you afraid that I will use my special skills to seriously injure you? If we are seriously injured, will we be injured by others? Are you not worried at all because the galaxy-level beings have taken advantage of you? To tell you the truth, it's not that I can't kill you, but I don't think it's worth it, because there are several galaxy-level beings around the Orion arm. I don't want them to take advantage of me, and I'm not afraid of you. What this mid-level Xi creature said made Jia Yan even slightly startled. Are there really other strong men around this Orion arm? Oh, but it doesn't matter. After killing you, I can go talk to them again. Sir, do you think you can cause great harm to me? This is a bit wrong. Jia Yan's words were still so cold. Oh? You think I can't cause you harm? Are you looking down on a mid-level galaxy creature? When Jia Yan said these words, the mid-level creature from the galaxy immediately understood that today's matter would never end unless it was life or death. So he became ruthless instantly. Since he wants to fight, he is actually not too afraid of Jia Yan. Just when Jia Yan and this mid-level galaxy creature were preparing to continue the previous battle, the two elementary creatures of the galaxy at the other end looked at the momentum here silently from a distance. They didn't say anything for a while, but they both turned in the opposite direction. They were preparing to escape elsewhere. Both of these two guys are not good people. Let's not talk about Jia Yan's killing. The so-called middle-level senior actually doesn't care about our life or death. Haha, it's a shame that we didn't treat him like a senior at the beginning. Trust. The two elementary creatures of the galaxy were each angered by the scene that happened before. That mid-level galaxy creature, the being they trusted the most, actually wanted to give up on them just now and let them drag Jia Yan and escape on his own. Now that Jia Yan looked down on them and went to fight this mid-level galaxy creature, he gave them a chance. You fight yours, we run away from ours, we just have a chance. These two people are actually quite happy. When Jia Yan fights with the middle-level seniors of Xing, even if they have a chance of survival, the chance of survival is already huge. After all, except for Jia Yan, they have nothing to fear. But just when they thought they were not afraid of anything, their faces suddenly became ugly. Because right in front of these two elementary creatures of the galaxy, suddenly, and I don't know when, 9 powerful men appeared in a row. The existence of an intermediate star was nothing to them before. But the stellar mid-level creatures in front of him were completely different from this, because they were the direct subordinates of Jia Yan Zheng or Ba Zheng. The 9 members of Jia Yan's team have completely arrived. They have the most powerful Onmyoji teachings, as well as various terrifying talents, and their strength has reached the point where they are about to reach the lower level of the galaxy. The most terrifying thing is that each of them has explosives given by Jia Yan, and they all killed several lower-level creatures in the past. Of course, even if you have so much strength, if you put it in the normal state of the primary creatures of the galaxy, they won't be afraid of that much at all. Even with the advantages of joining forces, explosives, onmyoji, etc., they can still kill them all in one strike. But now, they don't have that kind of strength at all. They were seriously injured. It is very likely that these 9 powerful men were called by Jia Yan. Is this why Jia Yan didn't attack them? Ha 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 ha, Jia Yan, you actually let a few star-level people come to beat us. Damn it! You underestimated us so much. You want Chuyuan to die, and you won't let us die at the hands of the Xing class. The 2 elementary creatures of the galaxy were almost furious. They were indeed weak, but they didn't think at all that they would be so weak that they couldn't even defeat several mid-level stars. Die! Get away from us, you're just a mid-level star, you dare to intercept us. In an instant, the two primary level creatures from the galaxy charged madly towards the mid-level star-level creatures that intercepted them. The 9 intermediate stars opposite were of course the members of Jia Yan's team that Jia Yan had notified before. This time, he asked the 9 members of Jia Yan's team to give up commanding the fleet that was fighting on one side and come over to kill the 2 elementary creatures of the galaxy. When they learned about their mission, these 9 members immediately thought that Jia Yan wanted them to die. But now after seeing the state of these 2 elementary creatures of the galaxy, their eyes were instantly filled with a sparkle that may have never been revealed in their entire lives. The killing intent is boiling. Your Excellency actually severely injured these 2 people. He didn't want us to die. He wanted us to create legends. Please remember the first domain name of this book.